Repco. It starts with the parts.
Hi, Steve, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts.
Hi, Steve, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts. From the outside, who would know what lies beneath? Unleash it with a machine as savage as you are.
This is how legends are made.
Lenovo Legion. Stylish outside, savage inside.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts.
Hi, Steve, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts.
Hi, Steve, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts. From the outside, who would know what lies beneath? Unleash it with a machine as savage as you are.
This is how legends are made.
Lenovo Legion. Stylish outside, savage inside.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. last week, Bathurst proved too tough to tame.
On the outside, Ethan Crick Gould, and he's going to skittle the field off the bumper of Haber. Oh, Gillian big shunt. He's gone in a big way.
Tonight, we go from Bathurst to the banking. First two flat-out races around Michigan International Speedway. Then the Temple of Speed and the home of the Italian Grand Prix, Monza. It's a slipstreaming streamer's dream. Plus, Bathurst 1000 winner Shane Van Gisbergen joins the virtual grid. How will SVG go up against the pros? 3 rounds down, 3 to go. This is the Repco Supercars Pro eSeries.
Something about supercars on an oval that we just love. Good evening and welcome to round number 4. This is the Repco Supercars Pro eSeries. We're going back to the ovals tonight as well as Monza. Very, very cool. Good evening to you, Jonathan. 2 tracks that you absolutely love.
Love them. Good. First time we visited an oval in our E-Series. Can't wait for it. This is not the All-Stars E-Series.
Yes.
This is the Pro E-Series.
We did do it in the All-Star E-Series, which featured this guy, Scott Pye. Welcome to the desk tonight. You checked out the action last week in Bathurst. What were your thoughts there?
I did. It was good. I mean, the racing, I think, was pretty cool, especially after the safety car. You know, safety cars breed safety cars, and for sure, if it was real world, there definitely would have been a few. But, yeah, I think the racing was cool. I'm excited to see the oval tonight. I think that always offers up some real excitement.
There'll be plenty of chances to talk about how you went in the All-Star E-Series, but you'd probably prefer to talk about how you went IRL in real life because you had a pretty good season this year.
I don't know what you're talking about. My online racing, I was a superstar. I was an all-star.
You're a jet.
Technically, I was an all-star, but yeah, I mean, for sure, I was useless online. So I was happy to get back to the real world, snag a couple of trophies this year, which was amazing. Huge for Charlie, being, you know, second year in the team, first year as a 2-car team. Yeah, epic. Honestly, an amazing year for me. And like you said, I was pretty happy to get back to the real racing after my efforts in E-Series.
Yeah, Darwin in particular, you were really, really strong up there. And a few hard charger awards as well along the way. You were passing cars for fun. Yeah,
I mean, it highlighted what our weakness was in qualifying, but for sure our race pace was amazing. I think we improved on our quality at the end as well throughout the season, but, you know, we obviously couldn't, you know, focus too much on turning qualifying around in the 1 year because our strength was in racing, and we knew we didn't want to lose that. So all in all, yeah, amazing season, passed plenty of cars, got some good points, finished in the 10 in the championships. That was a good result.
All right, let's see what we've got coming up tonight, and we'll check out our schedule, which is as much for Scott's benefit as anyone else's tonight. We've got a couple of races at Michigan, including the reverse grid race there. That's going to be a lot of fun. Remember, SVG won the reverse grid race on an oval when we were doing that a few weeks ago, but how cool is this? Monza is back as well.
And we could have the big one at Monza, despite it not being an oval. We saw it happen in the All-Star, Scott. That was about the longest crash I've ever seen in human history. It took for about 45 seconds to a minute, and it went on for a good few corners. Hopefully it remains clean here tonight. We hope we see the biggest wrecks at the ovals. We hope we don't see any wrecks at all, to be honest.
I hope maybe we do.
Wrecks.
Yeah,
there'll be a couple. I think that's going to happen anyway. And a track that you've raced at in real life. Not Michigan, but Monza.
Yeah, it didn't help me when I raced there online, but yeah, I love that place. Amazing circuit. It's something, you know, I raced there in a Formula car. Traditionally, you brake really late in those cars, but at Monza with the downforce is so low there because the straights are so long. Braking distances are quite long, so there's plenty of overtaking, lots of opportunity to pass people under brakes, and also everyone's building up the courage for quite a long time down that front straight, and they go deep at turn 1 for sure. It's usually an accident.
And all the cool banking and history around Monza as well. Such a cool place. Very high on my bucket list. A track that's also got some banking though is going to be Michigan. That's going to be the first track that we visit tonight. Jonathan's going to take us for a few laps in our next level racing preview.
Ovals. People think they're easy, but let me show you some of the challenges around this 3.2 kilometre, 2-mile D-shaped oval. 300 kilometres an hour into the approach to turn number 1. The car just sticks into the tarmac. There's 18 degrees of banking through this corner, but only 5 degrees of banking on the back stretch, and you pick up a lot of understeer coming out of turn 2, which is the most difficult of the 4 corners around here. Into 3 and 4, same approach, 300 kilometers an hour. But coming off 4 is much easier. There's 12 degrees of banking on the front stretch, which means the car doesn't want to ride up close to the barrier and go whack with the wall. That will end your race. So watch what happens now when your tires start to let go of themselves. We're going to head into one more time. And the rear end gets so slippery. You really have to control tire temperature and wear throughout the race today. And coming out of 2, I'm actually trying to keep it off the barriers, but I needed a slight lift there, especially in some dirty air and some pack racing. Your drivers are going to have to manage the exit coming off of 2. And then the pit entrance, if there's a green flag pit stop required today, and under no pace car, you're going to nail your marker, ease it right up close to the yellow cones, engage the pit limiter, and ready to go for your compulsory pit stop.
That was Jean Girard, Jonathan Simon, taking us for a lap around Michigan. One thing he'll need if he was racing will be drafting buddies, because that's going to be hugely important when we get into the races later. It was also very important in qualifying. It was a little bit of pot luck, to be honest, who was going to get the Colin Paul Award tonight. And finally, somebody different, Cooper Webster, who's managed to pick it up tonight in the Seiko 5 car. Love this livery, and it's clearly quick as well, because finally, Jonathan, someone other than Josh Rogers has picked up the Coin Pole Award.
And he's the youngest ever pole sitter in our eSeries on iRacing. So well done to him. That's a mean-looking machine right there. Yep. It looks like a soapbox derby racer, doesn't it? He's going to start from pole, but it's a lottery here at our ovals, Chad. We've got no clue who's going to win. I think all 23 drivers are in contention.
Jake Blackhall was really, really close to picking up that pole award. Here's his reaction to getting pipped right at the very end. The frustration. The good news is he is in a really cool Jeff Gordon livery just for tonight. He was absolutely ropeable, Scott. We've all been there.
I could watch that on loop all day. But, yeah, I mean, he just snagged pole last minute, so he's gutted to miss out on it for sure.
So Cooper Webster in the Seiko 5 car is going to be going through to the Seiko 5 shootout, which tonight is 3 laps instead of 2, so they've got some time to sort it out there, and they're all going to be fighting for this really cool Guile-based Street Fighter 5 Seiko 5 watch. That's what they're competing for. It's winner takes all. Will the Seiko 5 car win the race? Let's find out right now. So for the first time, an oval for our Seiko 5 shootout, and Cooper Webster, great job locking himself onto that front row alongside, is that Jeff Gordon? Not quite, it's Jake Blackhall running the 2001 livery that he won in Michigan. Ethan Grigult, Jackson Suzlin-Harlow, winner at Bathurst recently, and Jared Filsell filling in the 5th spot. Shane Van Gisbergen did qualify inside the top 5, but due to being a wild card, he is not invited into the competition to win the watch. These have been exciting, every single one of them through the opening 3 rounds. And this is going to be a lot of fun. Scott Pye, who is going to take out this one? Will it be the oval specialist in that very cool Jeff Gordon livery?
I don't know. I mean, he'd be bummed that he missed out on pole by just that little bit, but I think that Phil Saul is probably a good bet here. I reckon where he is with the toe. All
right, trying to get a bit of a run-up is Jackson Suzlin-Harlow. There's Barney, there's the green flag, and we are racing.
Goes hard on that flag, doesn't he?
He's going to put his shoulder out one day or get tennis elbow or something. So into the first corner, and Cooper Webster's out to a bit of a lead, and that probably isn't going to help. Any other track, Jonathan, that would be a good thing.
He's about to get swamped here on the back straight. 5 degrees of banking. You pick up so much understeer on the exit. Oh. And look at the bump drafting going on already. So I think, as Scott said, Phil Sell is in a good position right here. Do you want to lead heading into the final lap? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't think so. He seems to be running high as well. I reckon probably trying to save some tyre, but yeah, only lap 1 or 3. So probably just sitting here to see how this plays out, I think.
Everyone just feeling each other up for now, but now Suzlin-Harlow goes low. Oh. And about 2 in the grass, goes 3 wide for the lead. Cooper Webster on the outside, Blackhall in the middle. Ethan Grigult choosing which way to go. Maybe a chance to go 4 wide. It'll dip low. Suzlin-Harlow, Brad Jones Racing, the new leader. They won round 2 at Montreal in the Seiko 5 shootout.
What's the tyre deck like around here, Jonathan?
About 6 laps, you'll drop off to about a second a lap slower. I think everyone will be the same right now. I don't think Phil Sell will be able to save that much. But if you're going to go...
The reason I ask is it does give him an opportunity, though. If he sits where he is for the 2 laps and does lift and coast a little bit through the corners, he might have a chance in that last lap with a bit of an advantage.
He might be 0.2 of a second quicker, Scott. You're right. So here's the final lap. He's got to go now.
Grigult 2 on the dirt. And just pushes Suzlin-Harlow up high. Blackhall's got the top line working. He's got Cooper Webster. And waiting on when the Red Bull car's going to make a move. Sideways, saves it. But they're definitely out of contention on this last lap. 3 fighters left in this one. No teammates out there as well, so every man for himself at this point. Grigult goes low to block.
No one's got the toe here.
3 wide.
Phil Sell should do what Gizzy did in the same car. Dive to the inside here, win the duel just as he did. And he might have this watch.
He's doing it.
There he goes. You're allowed to run the apron.
He called it early.
Here we go.
He goes
Done
low
it.
and there's a wreck. Greg Gould's gone. Suzlin Harlow.
P2 for Philsell.
The BJR just going to get there first. Phil Sell gets it.
Done.
Wow.
How's that for a call? Call
That
me back
was
next
big.
week if you need to know who's going to win the race.
You should be out there racing with those sweet moves. Jackson Suzlin Harlow, maybe it was tight.
Oh,
to see a
no, he's
replay
been
of that
promoted to P2.
Timing now showing Jackson Suzlin Harlow as the winner. And I'm unsure, trying to judge by the body language on Jared Philsell. So came up, checked into Ethan Grigul. There goes the Shannon's car. At that point, I thought Jackson Suzlin Harlow had it. Trying to side draft each other and wrecks it on the finish. And Suzlin Harlow wins it airborne and backwards.
Okay, that's a cool finish.
That is the
How about
coolest thing ever. We told you that these Seiko 5 shootouts are cool, and that was very cool. More to come later tonight. Don't go anywhere.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts.
Hi, Steve's, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts. From the outside, who would know what lies beneath? Unleash it with a machine as savage as you are.
This is how legends are made.
Lenovo Legion. Stylish outside, savage inside.
Hi, Steve's, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. Tired of poor sound quality while you're trying to hit those apexes? Well, Shure are giving away mobile recording kits, enabling professional quality audio solutions every week of the E-Series. Simply head to the Supercars Facebook page tomorrow, post a photo of your sim setup. The image with the most likes wins.
Taking you from Melbourne, Australia, up to Michigan in the United States and across to Monza in Italy tonight. We're going globe-trotting as all part of the Repco Pro eSeries. Great to have your company wherever you're watching right now. We're going to dive into the points and see where this is right now, thanks to Repco. And guys, it's really close now. Madison Down, surprisingly, making up some points at Bathurst. Now just 6 points in it. And Scott, oval racing, anything can happen tonight. That championship leader could be anyone tonight.
Yeah, and it is a really close battle. Actually, it's closer than I thought it would be. I know Josh has really dominated so far, but I think that here at the Oval tonight, anything can happen. So that's cool, and hopefully we see Dane step up as well and really try and challenge Josh this weekend.
Yes, be cool to see the two Walkinshaw cars duke it out at some point tonight. Let's check out our Repco race facts then for the first of the 3 races tonight. And Jonathan, this is going to be a lot of fun, ovals and supercars.
It's going to be a lottery, as we spoke about. So 2 races coming up at Michigan. The first race, the grid has been determined by qualifying. That's race 9 of the championship. Race 10 is a reverse grid based on race 9's results. So both races will be a 28-lap event, or 20 minutes if we do indeed go time certain. Hopefully not. So, 75 points for the winner in each event. 1 compulsory pit stop will be required by the drivers. About 6 laps. That's how long the tyres last for, and the drivers will need about 5 litres of fuel in their pit stop, but that won't take longer than it takes to take those 4 tyres. Now, the pit window, laps 10 to 22. Look out for that. But Scott, Chad, I can tell you right now, just like last week at Bathurst, there will most likely be a Repco safety car intervention.
So lots to think about as we dive into our Seiko 5 starting grid for today. And a couple of different names towards the front of the field, which is really cool to see. Cooper Webster in the Seiko 5 car, youngest pole sitter, and Jeff Gordon, Jack Blackhall starting on that front row. Ethan Griggoult, best quality so far for him so far this year. SVG outside row 2. Watch out for Shane. He is an oval gun. BJR alongside Jared Filsell in the second of the Red Bull cars. There's Josh Rogers, championship leader, lowest quality for him this year. Emily Jones up inside the top 10. Madison Down, second in the championship, and Josh Muggleton with a score to settle on Josh Rogers. Will it happen in this race? Jake Burton for BJR. Dane Warren is top 3 in the championship so far. The Sol Kelly car is Benjamin Smith. He goes back to the Ned colours tonight. Alongside the Truck Assist car, there is Jordan Caruso having a good run in this championship. Brady Myers at podium at Bathurst. For the first time, it's the Coca-Cola car. Josh Anderson's made the switch in the Team Sydney colours alongside James Golding, his best quality of the year. Job Stewart will be chatting about the Erebus car tonight. And alongside him, not Cam Waters, he did all right in the ovals. It's going to be Richard Hampstead, who typically goes well here. And off the back, Forzan El Nabi, very quick on road circuits. Clearly, ovals not to his liking, but the entire field was separated by less than a second. That's how they'll start on the Seiko 5 racing grid. That's the live look as we get everyone set. We've got drivers in Adelaide, all up and down the East Coast, and now also New Zealand with Shane Van Gisbergen queuing in as we roll them out for the first of the 3 races tonight. And
Madison Down with the VR on?
Yeah, that is Madison
I always
Down.
find that odd. We're just looking at someone's chin moving around whilst driving.
We've been at him for a while to put a set of goggly eyes on the outside of those things.
What was it? Nick Percat said he didn't want to get punched in the face while using one of those.
I love that. Nick Percat said the only reason he doesn't wear VR is because he's worried someone's going to come up and do something to him when he can't see them. There's your pole sitter, Cooper Webster. There's Madison Down. Yep, have a go at that. Brad Jones Racing, second in the points, so it's working for him. And been working with the Brad Jones Racing engineering team as their spotters. That's another talking point in this race. The spotters now have to take on a very different job to just calling pit strategies. Try and tell you where you are in the pack. They will be like actual NASCAR spotters.
And Jake Blackhall's usual spotter is Ashley Sutton, who just won the British Touring Car Championship, and as of 5 minutes ago is nowhere to be seen. He's probably hungover, I tell you what, and celebrating that.
I'd be disappointed if he wasn't, if he just won the championship.
That's not the virtual British Touring Car Championship. That's the real deal. As we get set in 2 long trains of cars.
How cool is it seeing the Jeff Gordon car?
I love it. That's the 2001 Michigan winning livery for Jeff Gordon as Barney gets us going and they fan out.
Big jump from Cooper.
He's getting it in there once again. Cooper Webster jumps out just like he did in the Seiko 5 race. But that lead is going to be quickly evaporated. Watch for the 2 Red Bull cars to hook up. For the first time tonight, teammates can start working together.
I'll be very surprised if drivers are aggressive this early on. There's another 19 minutes remaining in this race, so you should see single file. I reckon they'll get argy-bargy with about 10 to go.
The other big talking point here is almost the entire field, bar 1 or 2 drivers, have almost no experience running ovals. This is really a strange territory for them to be in. Blackhall leads the first lap.
Strategy, I mean, this is a place where strategy plays a huge part, and not necessarily in the pits, but on the track. And this is where you want to be smart, position the car in the right places, especially early in the race. Conserve a little bit of tyre if you can. You know, especially if you're in the mid-pack right now, you just want to stay out of trouble. I know that's what we all struggled with in the eSeries was, you know, you get angry, you get a little bit aggressive, and in the middle, you're just going to get yourself in trouble. It's way too early for all that right now. You just need to find a good spot.
Now, as Blacklock into the lane already, as he had a moment. So the Penske car there of Sam Blacklock's already dropped off the pack. Now, you do not lose a lap
Oh.
if you make a green flag pit stop. Everybody's getting a little too restless this early in the race, but you will see some drivers opt for a green flag stop. Jake Blackhall will not be happy with that.
I think we should cut to Jake Blackhall's onboard again and see him drive a fist in the air or something.
He was pretty angry at losing the pole, and he's going to be pretty angry at Josh Muggleton hustling the back of that Jeff Gordon car. We got one sideways. It's Ethan Griggold. And he's taken
It's
Jackson
really big.
Suslu Harley with him, and somehow the field scatters and avoids them. They just went in all different directions. Griggold drops to
And
the
he
back.
looks gutted, doesn't he? Look at you can see on his face the disappointment.
It's almost
like a
like
poker
nothing even
player, there was
happened.
nothing there.
Note to self, never play poker with Ethan Griggold.
And Golding just slithered on by on the outside there as well, which was good to see. But yeah, I'd be, I mean, they're getting pretty racy. The hard thing is the slipstream's so big around here, you've almost got to lift off the throttle if you don't want to make contact or bump and run. So in the middle of the corner like that, contact's never going to work.
Well, that was a frantic start down the back straight. It's also our first Lenovo Savage moment of the night. Let's see if we can break this one down. Oh, Suzlin Harlow, big slide up in the mid part of the corner. And what's fascinating here, you said it was going to be a big one. How did they miss him?
Yeah, I called that wrong, didn't I? Maybe I'm used to watching us on the eSeries. It would have been a big one, but these guys are a little bit better, I think, than us.
That's where Jamie Whincup was kicked for 6.
Look at that, mate.
Yeah, through the goals.
Cool as a cucumber. See
Good
that?
save as well. So he manages to keep it out there. He does come into the pits, though, maybe picked up some damage. Talking to Dane Warren, he said the only two things that matter here, don't get damaged, keep some fresh tyres for the end.
But they do have a fast repair, as far as I know, in the sub breaks. So
something I'd missed in this, actually, is Filson's dropped right down into 19th, so he must have been caught up in that incident.
Yeah, and Griggold's about to lose the lap here.
That is awful for him, because even if a Repco safety car comes out, if he stays on the lead lap when everyone pits, he'll only be at the back with worn tyres.
Now, for the first time since Montreal, Muggleton and Rogers are side by side. That's Muggleton in the big fluoro green Shaw colours.
I reckon take him out.
Is he going to do a NASCAR-style revenge plot tonight? 5 down. Blackhall led that lap. Cooper Webster still running at the front. The guys who started on the front row still side by side. Dane Warren showing a pretty good effort right now. He started in the mid-pack and he's come flying up through the field.
Surprised that front two haven't been swallowed up a little bit more, but hanging in there. Maybe everyone's just playing the long game at the moment.
I'm surprised Ethan Griggold hasn't lost that lap yet. He is running for his life. I suppose fresh tyres are going to count for something for a couple of laps before that peloton catches him.
Going to have a tough fight in his hands, I think, to keep that lap.
Dane Warren tucking in behind Muggleton. Muggleton goes low. In behind the very cool Jeff Gordon DuPont colours. He's got his own Shaw Sim signage on that car. Tells me he's a big Jeff Gordon fan, and that was the first Jeff Gordon livery that he remembers growing up. Jeff Gordon won here 3 times, 98, 2001, and 2014. Let's put you in the driver's seat. Crank it up for our first Shaw Sounds of the Game tonight. Love that. Love the sounds. As now Harley Haber buys himself a ticket into this fight. He's working the low line behind Muggleton. Slides up the racetrack. Got a wicked push out of turn 2. Jonathan, that can happen where the track cambers out.
Yeah, so 12 degrees of banking on the front stretch, but only 5 degrees of banking here on the back stretch. But you've got 12 degrees through each of the 4 corners, and that's why turn 2 is the most difficult on the racetrack, as we went through in our Next Level Racing track preview. Here's Haber trying to split Shane Van Gisbergen, one of our wild cards.
I think Shane will be playing the long game here. He'll be sitting there trying to stay out of trouble.
New sim for Shane Van Gisbergen as well, which has only just been putting together in the last 24 hours as Muggleton tries to make that low line work. And this group is getting bigger and wilder.
He's found the Penrite car. That's what I was saying. He's going to stay out of trouble, but
Muggleton was flashing the headlights. He's unhappy at someone.
And this is what you see in NASCAR in the Sprint Cup. They race here a couple of times per year. You can run the high groove, the low groove, and iRacing rubber in different parts of the racetrack. Maybe at this point of the race, only 9 laps in, that high line might start to work. So those drivers are trying to rubber it in so they have that run on the final few laps.
I remember that a few times during the race. I adjusted my line at this place. When we were driving there, I mean, the middle actually really started to open up, and then getting high towards the end of the race was working really well. So that was definitely something I hadn't experienced on iRacing before, but on this track particularly, it was something that I had to learn as I was on the fly.
Two little packs forming here as Brady Myers in the background tries to make up that gap to the front 6 or 7 cars.
I think Giz has been shuffled here a fair bit. You see the Seiko car in the bottom pop in the screen. Come on, Jimmy.
And Jimmy's he's last in this pack, but he's only 1.7 seconds away from the lead. So these gaps are insanely close as the drivers scream up to 300 kilometers per hour.
It is cool. Anyone's in the fight at this point, really. I mean, that was what was exciting when we did. I remember doing the split races and it was always, you never felt out of it. It was about just finding the right track position, pick the line, and you can get a good run on a few people and pass a whole lot of cars.
Well, two groups has definitely become one as Muggleton tries to push Cooper Webster back to the lead, just rubbing on the back of that Seiko 5 car. Harley Haber now for Matt Stone Racing slides up the racetrack. That was Brady Myers taking a little piece of the wall with him.
This is interesting because Ethan Griggault on his own is running quicker than your lead pack without the draft. So Richard Hampstead's probably noticed that, and he's decided to dive into the lane. He might join Ethan Griggault, and maybe the two of them might be able to work together. All this traffic running 4 wide is not quick. A single line is your quickest way around Michigan.
Oh, Muggleton slid up the racetrack right in front of Rogers. Covered him off. Gee, you need to rely on the spotter as Muggleton dives low. Green flag pit stop's not far away. I think Muggleton's coming in because he's on the brake pedal.
Well, normally on the backstretch, drivers do that. They swing left to let everybody know they're pitting. But I think Muggleton had nowhere to go. Doesn't look like he's diving in.
So goes around one more time.
Someone who's really coming into the fight is actually Anderson in the Coca-Cola car. He seemed to have moved up, kind of almost missed him move up, I think, nine places now.
And out of nowhere, Andrew Gilliam is bang. There goes Blackhall. One of the favourites tonight has won Oval Championships, and he is gone. Absolutely fenced, and there's more going on here with Andrew Gilliam getting shuffled back through the pack, and he will be furious now. One of the favourites out of action.
Fast repairs on tonight?
They are, and thankfully for him, he can take it this time by.
And we're in the pit window as well, aren't we?
Yes,
well,
we are.
We are, but the way it looks at the moment, I'd be running on...
Well, I mean, just for him able to pit, get that fast repair and complete a pit stop as well, maybe without losing a lap would be good.
But it's not a compulsory window. Don't get confused. That's a good point you bring up. Optional window.
It's going to be very optional for him right now. Repco replay.
Hey, that's as good as I get with strategy. Last time we raced here, I think it was a one-stop race. I stopped twice. My engineer in real world was watching and very disappointed me he was.
He is gone. So let's have a look at this one. I think it might have been Muggleton into Warren into Blackhall.
Oh, that's...
Unlucky.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, not much you can do about there.
Oh, and
Muggleton's just moved up, I think, off the inside line, pushed Warren across, and obviously he's just at the wrong place, wrong time. Big shunt.
So looking forward to tonight's races. Spent 2 hours making that livery. Motor's blown. He's got the thing back into pit lane as Warren also takes a stop.
I think he sold half the front end of that car. Oh, wow, he's got a new car.
It's back.
I don't know what my mechanics are talking about. That looks so easy to repair a car.
Hope they're listening tonight.
I hope not. I'll be like, hang on a minute.
Warren back out and losing the lead lap for now, but everyone still needs to make that pit stop. So he goes back into the lead pack.
So it's interesting you bring up strategy, Scott. See, the thing is, I would just run as long as I can until there's hopefully a Repco safety car intervention, because I think under green flag conditions, if it's lap 22 and there's no safety car, then you come in. Then you maximize those 6 laps of that fresh Dunlop rubber.
If you were further in the pack and wanted to try something to try and get moving, maybe, but certainly looks to be the way that the lead guys are playing this. Strategy A, go long.
You definitely...
Oh, no. Muggleton up into Anderson.
Yeah, okay.
And also, I think that might have been Josh Rogers. So he got his man eventually, albeit accidentally.
I think once you call it an accident, Muggleton, I mean, there's a common denominator there who's just taken out. I mean, yeah, there's moving up once by accident, but I think to do that twice now, he probably needs to think about what he's doing there.
And irony would have it, it was Josh Rogers who wore the worst of it. So whether it was intentional or not, they've now finally got even as Cooper Webster dives down into pit lane. Job Stewart doing a really good job here, driving up through the pack as well. He now sits second, and let's check this out in the Repco replay. Watch out for that black and green car.
Oh, he wasn't even helped, I don't think. It looked weird.
And how lucky was Madison down in the Cup Cadet yellow BJR car? Watch him at the very top. He cops it in the door there, manages to keep going.
Seemed to get loose mid-corner. Did you see the rear end wiggle? You had a moment like that.
I mean, I did panic a little bit when we saw the replay, and I thought, oh, hang on a minute. I might owe him an apology, but it does look like he's had the wobble in the middle of the corner. Like I said, to do it twice, yeah, maybe he's just pushing that little bit too hard on the bottom, and maybe it is starting to rubber up a bit higher.
Not to bring up bad memories, but it reminded me of your accident at, was it at Reed Park? Remember one year you had a huge oversteer moment?
Oh yeah, I passed Nick under the tree and then across the white line, which was still wet. And had a big moment across the top there. Oh. Definitely had to wash my race suit that night.
That was definitely your job to do it that night.
So what's happened there? How's he parked sideways in the lane?
I'm trying to pick exactly which of the BP cars that was, making a BP Ultimate pit stop and getting it wrong, and still trying to find the pit bay.
Might be El Nabi.
I noticed when I was racing on this, it's actually quite hard when you pit in a train to spot your guy, because you're crammed up behind someone else. And you can give a lot of time away as well by hesitating or stopping a little bit early. Also, I learned from Lando, stopping in line in the right position actually can affect that time in the box as well. So getting all of those things right, I certainly learned the hard way as a rookie on iRacing.
Man, it was cool having Lando Norris part of the All-Star eSeries. Feels like a while ago now, during lockdown.
It does. It feels like a lot. It definitely doesn't feel like it was this year, that's for sure.
No. 10 to go. Brady Mize, the leader, yet to pit with Emily Jones, the last two. Shane Van Gisbergen in the lane right now. And we're about to get our real form guide as to who's going to be quick once these pit stops have been served. Cooper Webster and Harley Haber, two of the younger guys, going very quick at the front of this pack. Here comes Shane Van Gisbergen. Where is he going to slot himself back into this fight? Gee, fair difference with that lead pack whizzing by. And Josh Rogers ahead of Madison down, despite the damage that he had. So the early pit stop has worked out well. There's almost been an undercut there.
Undercut's worth about 1 second, and then you lose about a quarter of a second from lap 3 onwards, and then it plateaus about a second off the pace. Keep with me, ladies and gentlemen at home.
So Muggleton is using the brake pedal to get that thing turned in mid-corner. I wonder if that's contributed to the moments that he's had as he tags back in behind Cooper Webster, and the games begin once more.
It's that fine line, isn't it? How early you want to go, get the undercut. Obviously, you're happy early, but we in real life, we always say most of us would prefer to finish happy, and that's pit later, use the tyre at the end, and pass as many cars as possible. So you it just depends when you want to use your apples up, and I think going as long as possible in this situation is the best way forward, because it's a circuit that's actually easy to overtake if you have an advantage.
4-car breakaway for the first time involves Ben Smith in the Ned Kelly racing car. How cool is it to see this guy running in the front pack for the first time? The Melbourne Metro train driver here in Victoria. And he's on the back of this very small train of 4 cars, Haber, Muggleton, Webster. But cool to give Ben Smith a bit of a shout out. Very experienced in iRacing, has competed in just about all the major tournaments that you can have a crack in around the world. And here he is now in our Pro E-Series, turning the laps right now.
Definitely looks like the middle of the track's rubbing up a fair bit now.
Trying to do this one for Georgia, it looks like, in the background. Happy birthday, Georgia.
Who is Georgia?
Hopefully, his biggest fan cheering him on to maybe finish on the podium. Haber goes back to the lead. Haber won the last race of the All-Star E-Series at Bathurst when he came in as a wild card.
So none of these 4 in your top 4 positions have won an E-Series race. Now Jared Philsell in 5th, who needs a good round to his name. He's had so much poor form, and half of that's probably been him. Half of them have been incidents that haven't entirely been his fault. But this is the time to do it. I had a chat to him after the round last week, and he seemed very down on himself. And I said, hey, mate, you got Michigan coming up next week, and you need some good luck to your side. It starts here. And if you can grab this win, it is a huge thumbs up for his championship as we ride on board with his wild card teammate and a good mate of yours, Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yeah, he has his days. He, yeah, I mean, he's actually, I think this is the one we can see him come up. I mean, he's pretty quick on the sim, and I don't think, though, in the lead up to this one, he's been able to put in the time he probably did during the E-Series with us, but for sure, he's already showing that, I mean, he's just pitted, but he's able to come through the field, so we'll see what he can do here, and like you said, Phil's still just up in front, pitted a little bit earlier, got that early gain, so it'll be interesting to see how quickly Shane can get back on that train there. Now he's dropped the toe a little bit, but certainly he'll be on the charge.
I think he also has 1 lap fresher tyres than everyone ahead of him, which might just come into this one late in the race. As that front pack is picking up more and more cars. It was 4 a few laps ago. It's getting bigger and bigger, and SVG is arriving in a hurry.
And this battle's only going to help those guys that did pit a little bit later. So, yeah, strategy, everything. It's being smart now. It's making sure that you arrive with a good tow and pick your spot on the straight so you can pick them off as you approach with speed.
Now, who's got a friend here? The 2 BJR cars and 2 Red Bull cars are the only drivers in the lead pack at the moment that have brought a teammate to the fight.
Look at Phil Cell trying to rubber up the outside with Gizzy. But if you can be hung out there to dry, if these drivers have an incident, you're going to be washed up into the wall at 300 kilometers per hour.
Cool chance to watch one of the best go at it. He's so versatile, Shane Van Gisbergen. Hopped in a rally car on the weekend and won on debut an AP4 spec Rally Art prepared Mirage. And the onboard video from that is pretty wild as well. And now he just hops back on iRacing, back on an oval, and goes quick again as Muggleton scatters the field. And that includes Madison down.
Shane's
and
through.
Maybe Shane gets through it, he does. Oh, that's bad news for Harley Haber and also for Ben Smith.
And there we have it. I mean, Shane, huge crash, but it's just fallen into his hands. I think he's the lead car with the best tyres there.
Yes, he will be.
Along with Phil
And he's
Cell.
got his teammate as well. Now, how does he play this? Does he help his teammate pick up a win, or will he take one off him tonight as a wild card?
Oh, you have to take one for the team at this point, don't you? I mean, in saying that, Phil's just not that close in the championship, so... but for sure, I mean, Shane surely has to take one for the team here, but it's one of those things, if he's miles up the road, what are they going to do?
Well, Muggleton said to me he's sick of being Mr. Nice Guy in this series. He's always playing nicely with everybody else, and he said the time for that was over.
Definitely finished that tonight, didn't he?
Yeah, he has the elbows out tonight. Cooper Webster has somehow got through all of that carnage, and he's last man standing from that front row.
This is interesting because Webster has the worst tyres out of these 4. These 2 can break away now. About 3/10 the gap. I don't know if that's enough to break the slipstream around here, but they've got to work together. Now 4/10 the gap. It might be a Red Bull HRT 1-2, but it doesn't look like they've broken Webster and Muggleton behind.
Not yet. 2 to go, this time by. Webster in there still.
Yeah, I mean, that gap's disappeared pretty quickly, hasn't it? It's hard to break away around here.
Looking off the back of Shane Van Gisbergen.
What's cool as well, we've seen Jimmy, I mean, give him a plug. He's obviously still my teammate from this year, having co-driven with Frosty, but I mean, he's up in P7, which I think would be his best result so far. And there's, you know, we saw tonight, there's huge opportunity around these ovals, but, you know, you've still got to be smart as well and put the car in the right place. It's cool to see that 6-year-old car up there.
Watch Gizzy here dive to the top. He's going to help Phil Cell. There he is with the draft. 1 lap remaining.
Here we go, final lap around Michigan. Van Gisbergen, Phil Cell, Webster, Job Stewart out of nowhere for Penrite Racing. Can Erebus pinch a win out of this fight? And then Muggleston now drops back to 5th. It looks like it's a fight between these 5. Emily Jones trying to bridge that gap in the BP Ultimate car. She might just be too far back. 2 corners to go. Can Shane Van Gisbergen do it? Will he pick up a wild card win through the middle? That's a huge move from the youngest in the field.
Shane should be able to hang high here. I think the track has rubbered up.
Oh, a bit of a push from Phil Cell's moving Stewart up the track to
Shane's
the checkered flag.
Phil, so he's going to pick it. There we go.
He goes low. He gives his teammate a bump, and Phil Cell wins the race.
1-2.
Off the back of a shove from his teammate. And the teammates work together to deliver Red Bull Holden Racing Team's first win in the Pro Series. Picking up where they left off in the All-Stars. And a perfectly timed drink from Jared Philcell. He fits the bill well down there at Red Bull. Well done.
That was cool. I mean, that was about track position as well. Just putting the car in the right spot. Shane just scraped across the front of the car and was able to get in the back of Philcell and push him across the line. I think he had it anyway, but I think sure the bump helped, you know, solidify that.
Massive props to this kid. 16 years of age, driving for Erebus, picks up his first podium. And that was a great effort as we check out the Repco results. 51 thousandths of a second covering that 3 wide at the stripe. Philcell back and into victory lane for the first time this year. Congratulations to him and the Red Bull team on a 1-2. Shane Van Gisbergen's first drive back nets a podium, of course. Stewart picks up his first podium, youngest podium winner, I guess you could call him. Looking back for some of the big names, Madison Down finished 14th, Josh Rogers 16th. That was the one that got away for Madison Down. Could have taken the championship lead right there. As it stands, he does close that championship gap back up. But it's
cool,
not
though.
quite
It's what
enough.
you want to see, isn't it? At a place like this, this is what we look for. But, yeah, I mean, full credit to Job Stewart there. I know that through Shannon, my partner, she works at Erebus, and you know, is a good young kid who's putting in a lot of hard work. And yeah, deserves a result. So he'll be bummed he just missed out on the win, but huge effort, and he raced smart as well. I've said it a few times during that race. It really is about positioning the car right and being smart in those races. So saw some big names come unstuck. Good on him, I think, for having a crack and getting a good result.
There was one or two big moments. This was the one that took Ethan Grigult out of action. Had a huge crack at trying to save this one on our Repco highlights. Full lock left, full lock right. Couldn't quite happen. Then this one, Muggleton up into Dane Warren, and unfortunately for Jake Blackhall, who was the favourite coming into that race, out of action. Disappointment. And you can tell how much he wanted to win that one. He will have a pretty good starting spot for the next one. That's reverse grid. Then this one, Josh Anderson sliding up the racetrack. Also Josh Rogers involved with Josh Muggleton. The three Joshes all in the one crash. It's a commentator's nightmare, that one. And they continued to wreck closer to the checkered flag. That one really broke the pack up. And poor Ben Smith, who was having such a good race until that point for Kelly Racing, that was his best opportunity. Whoa, get your hands out of the way.
Go on.
Yeah, direct drive wheel with a lot of power and a lot of torque, just about ripping the hands out of his wheel. And now you see why they want to try and get their thumbs out of the way as quickly as they can. Well, that was a lot of entertainment, as you'd expect. Very cool to have Shane Van Gisbergen on the line for our first Shaw live chat of the night. Shane, talk us through that one. That was some pretty supreme racecraft. Did you go for the race win, or did you just try and get your teammate home?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Good to speak to you, mate.
Yeah, it's bloody good. Yeah, it was all right. Just trying to help out Jared there. I'm nowhere. I did 20 laps at Monza before starting, qualified last, and then only just got the track downloaded in time for Michigan. So yeah, rolled up, but here we are.
For Michigan, that must be the Kiwi accent. It's pronounced Michigan.
Michigan.
But shame you don't have the webcam. The mug photo they just put up then was shocking. I think the webcam. Oh, they've put it back up again, doing you a favour. Don't know about that.
You know this is going to. It would be like pictures anyway.
Mate, you know this is going to start all the rumours about your cat driving again.
It doesn't worry me, mate. People can say what they want, but yeah, good fun. Love to come and have a race, but yeah, these guys are another level. I'm just hanging on to the back of them, but pretty fun.
Now, you won the reverse grid race off the back at Michigan in the All-Star Series. Can you go off the back row again?
Oh, anything can happen. Yeah, it's just a full pack race, so I got a bit lucky then. Missed a couple of crashes, but yeah, we'll see what happens. We might try and pit early here or pit late. We'll try and get out of the carnage, but she's all good.
All right, best of luck at the next Michigan race coming up very, very soon. Well done in the rally car on the weekend as well. That was pretty cool. All right, we need a quick break. Reverse grid. Can SVG do it off the back row? Stick around.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Lenovo Legion. Game with speed.
Hi, it's these, thanks.
Good choice. Maybe $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts. From the outside, who would know what lies beneath? Unleash it with a machine as savage as you are.
This is how legends are made.
Lenovo Legion. Stylish outside, savage inside.
It's these, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Lenovo Legion. Game with speed.
Hi, it's Emily from Melbourne in Victoria, and I'm racing for BP Ultimate Racing in the 99 Ford Mustang in this year's eSeries. I've been sim racing for a couple of years now. I raced in last year's eSeries as well, and it's good to be back on iRacing. My favorite track on iRacing is Road Atlanta, and I'm gonna show you a quick tour of my rig. So I'm pretty sure I have like the messiest rig out of everyone, so please don't judge the amount of wires and things. I have 2 screens, it's pretty old school. I just have a seat that my dad kind of helps build onto like a wooden rig, and I run with a Thrustmaster TGT wheel and Thrustmaster T LCM pedals. Otherwise, basically it's pretty simple. Please cheer for me this year, and hope I do okay. Thanks.
I love it. Built the sim with her dad. How cool is that? But I'm going to say it right now. If the guys from Next Level Racing are watching right now, let's send Emily a rig. We've got to get her in something that's decent. She's doing that thing essentially connected up to a desk. Given how well her results go and how far she's gone in GT Sport and things like that as well, that's pretty impressive.
It does. And I mean, I'm one of those guys that, you always want the best of the best because you think that's what's going to make you faster. And that shows that, I got asked a lot during my time in the eSeries, what do I actually need to get into sim racing? And you can get in and be competitive without spending a massive amount of money. So, I mean, she smokes me when she races me. So
very, very fast.
It shows that, you can get in and be competitive.
All right, let's check out how they're going to line up on this reverse grid race for our Seiko 5 starting grid. And it's going to be a pretty good race, this one, given that there are so many quick guys off the back. But there are 1 or 2 fast guys off the front. Harley Habel was running in that front pack until that crash came out. Sam Blacklock was nowhere, courtesy of some early damage. Ben Smith was also very quick. Thorsten Elnavi's been struggling on the ovals. Jackson Suzlin Harlow was quick in the shootout. Dane Warren with a score to settle after running in that front pack. Jake Blackhall, I think there's going to be a few guys cheering on for him, and our championship leader off the 4th row. Chance for him to score some points over that guy, Madison Down, starting right behind him, 1st and 2nd in the championship. BJR and Jake Burton. Richard Hampstead goes well on the ovals and was moving forward, has a good spotter with lots of experience. Ethan Griggould, casualty with an early crash. He actually did a really good job to drive back up through the pack. There's Gilliam and Josh Anderson. Anderson was going so strong as well, as was Cooper Webster until some crashes took out some of these guys. Webster was almost the last guy standing at that pack, with Emily Jones and Josh Muggleton, who was the most aggressive in that last one. Job Stewart, well done. Erebus Academy giving him a chance to drive out there for their eSeries team. Shane Van Gisbergen and Jared Philsell, 1-2 for Red Bull Holden Racing Team in that last race. Go off the back. That's your Seiko 5 starting grid. 23 cars ready to go once again at Michigan International Speedway. What a cool track it is. About 70 miles away from where the championship officially started in Detroit at Belle Isle. Taking a live look into the Shelf E-Power Racing Team, and there is Sam Blacklock going out of row number 1. Ben Smith ready to go out of inside row number 2 alongside Thorsten Elnavi, both those guys in Melbourne. There is Brady Myers, the guy we call DJ Braids, ready to go. Josh Muggleton not playing nicely tonight. He's ready to get the elbows out once again. How many cars can he pass in this one?
Looks like he can just see over the counter there, doesn't it? He's going to try and purchase something.
Looks like Dickie Knee. So I always wonder what the front of Dickie Knee looked like. Off Hey it's Saturday.
Hey, I always laugh, mate. I did this for a long time. Ran Twitch, and sometimes I looked at my face on the stream, and especially when it was 2 o'clock in the morning after the stream, and it was a good laugh.
You were sober for all of those, weren't you?
Half of it probably for the, especially, I mean, some of those debriefs we did after the races were a blast, but I had some good races on there with some fans as well, which was good. I enjoyed this. The engagement we had with the general public was unbelievable because they got access to us on a platform that we've never been able to.
Yeah, I love how they start here. They have to actually drive out of the pits. They're angled just as they do in the NASCAR Cup Series. Here is a man on screen for Shannon's Racing who copped the short straw in that one with the early accident. Looking forward to how he fares around the ovals. There's a lot of drivers, as we said, where it's a bit of a lottery. Anyone in our 23-car field can win this race. It's exactly the same as the previous one, except the reverse grid. Strategy will be the same. Everything from tactics, temperatures. Forzen Alnabi is someone who struggled around the ovals. And where we saw in the All-Stars was Jamie Whincup succeeding around ovals. He struggled with brake pedal feel, and as soon as you headed to Charlotte and Michigan, didn't have to use the brake pedal, and he was quick.
So they're queuing up behind 21-year-old Harley Haber for Matt Stern Racing in the Kubota car. Wicked-looking car indeed. And he's got Chris Radicic, which is brother of the Rat, as his spotter with a lot of oval experience based in America.
There you go. I mean, something that helps on this is actually having someone that understands oval and racing on an oval. I remember watching Scotty Mack's Twitch streams. It was fascinating listening to his spotter and just what they talked about. You can learn a lot.
Away we go.
Big jump.
Championship picture once again. Watch out for the 25 and Madison Down in car 14. Josh Rogers versus Madison Down. They're starting just one spot apart, and already Madison Down is onto the bumper of the guy that he needs to beat. And this is his chance to extend some points on him tonight.
It's a start you dream about, but unfortunately on this oval, it's disintegrated pretty quickly.
They're already on top of him. Did he get the wall outside of turn 2 as well? Because whatever it was, he lost a lot of speed.
He did, and I think they were catching him with speed as well, so he's probably just hurt himself even more. But
what he might have done is he had such a big jump, you actually just saved the tyres. There's no need to break away from the field, and so I'd rather get swept up and sit in the draft. Maybe not, because he might get taken out.
Man, everyone has got it in for the 24 tonight. It's like there's 22 other NASCAR fans out there, and everyone hates Jeff Gordon.
Uh-oh.
Brady Myers trying to move his way through the pack. Cue onto the back of that 24. Jeff Gordon said he always loved them booing him. Meant that he was doing the right things. I personally got to go to Talladega in 2007 when he equaled Earnhardt's win record that day, and you should have seen the amount of stuff getting thrown from the grandstands at the 24 that day. He was a love him or hate him kind of driver, Jeff Gordon. Oh, and there's more dramas going, and I dare say it might just be the 24 again. And Haber, and that was a big one.
He was not, whoever that was
SVG's involved. He's not going to get away with this one tonight. Muggleton's lost the front, the rear, the lot. He's out.
Who are we on board with there? Because, I mean, that was an opportunity where that driver really should have lifted. Feather out the throttle. You know the gap's going to close up, and as a driver, you just got to make that decision earlier than that to lift off. So
I've been waiting all night for a Days of Thunder reference. You can do it, Cole. Aim for the smoke. Didn't work out for him on that time. It is going to be our Lenovo Savage moment, though. Let's see if we can unwind exactly what's happened here. So it was Harley Haber involved, and it wasn't the 24 who he just got away with one there. It was off Brady Myers' bumper, and wait for it because,
Muggleton again.
And Cooper Webster, who was really unlucky.
So that began with, here we ride on board with Muggleton, but that began with Myers coming up off the groove and into Haber. And yeah, you should have lifted, as you said, Scott. If he lifted, that would have resulted in less cars involved in the big one.
I guess, you know, for Muggleton's defence, it is the closing speeds are big. When there is a bit of a wobble and you lose that speed, you are doing 300 kilometres an hour, so it's easy to have a 50 kilometre an hour overlap on someone.
Had he got away with that, he would have picked up like 10 spots.
Exactly. But in a 28-lap race on an oval where opportunities are going to present themselves multiple times through this race, really that's where you got to stay out of trouble. But we saw there with Shane. I mean, there's someone who's usually pretty good on this around here at picking the right gaps, and he got caught up in that one, so it can happen pretty easily.
Happen to the best of them.
Maybe not the best of them. We don't want to pump Shane's tyres up too much.
Susan Harlow now the leader, won at Bathurst, and also won our Seiko 5 shootout tonight.
It can't be Gizzy's cat, because remember I said pre-broadcast, last year he had himself on webcam for the first time and almost had pole, won the duel, won all 3 races at Michigan, had he not pitted twice. Sorry to keep bringing that up, but it's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it burns me because we did it twice as well, and I think that actually would have been my best result. So we've got a good battle going here. I love this, though, because you just never know who's going to come out on top. Because we're looking at 4 wide, exactly. So picking the right line there is a tricky one.
So Suzlin Harlow's in first now, and he leads the field, you would say, for about 2 seconds, because Brady Myers is about to sail past the outside. Oh, you don't want to split the two of them, Josh Anderson. Thankfully, Suzlin Harlow and his spotter, hey, will tell him, even the iRacing automated spotter and your manual spotter will tell you 3 wide. They'll tell you how many car lengths back the next driver is. But Suzlin Harlow just recently became our youngest race winner. Andrew Gilliam in round 2 became our youngest podium sitter. That was beat by Suzlin Harlow, and with Job Stewart last race, he now officially becomes the youngest ever driver to sit on the podium, and that won't be beat because he's the youngest driver in the field.
16 years of age. How cool is this? This is iRacing. If you've never seen it before, it's pretty mind-blowing stuff when you see it up close. You should really try it out and experience just how cool this is. It's very addictive, I'll give you that warning. New leader Josh Anderson bringing the Coca-Cola car to the front of the pack for Team Sydney.
It's cool when you can fit the entire field in the one shot, you know.
They're all spread out. That's what's so cool about Michigan. It's so wide. Working our way through the banking. A track that Roger Penske once owned.
So you can hear there, Jake's feathering out there, and I think that's a smart move right now. You're not going to win the race on lap 8. So you can hear him just lifting off there, trying to pick his line. That's quite smart driving, and I think there's a few of them in this battle pack that'll be doing the same.
And you see that in the NASCAR Cup Series in the duels. The drivers just remain steady until about the final couple of laps. Some drivers, even at Daytona, don't want to start on pole.
Yeah.
This is a race, obviously, so you've got a different story here. But you're right, Scott. I just wouldn't battle until the final couple laps.
There's a fair element of risk sitting in the middle of every single 3 wide, though, which is what Jake's been doing in that Jeff Gordon car. Now finally he's got a bit of a run to work onto the back of Dane Warren for the Walkinshaw Andretti United car.
Oh, look at the back.
Michael Andretti did pick up a couple of race wins back here, back in the day. As you would imagine, he won just about everywhere that he raced in IndyCar at. 87 and 89, and in the background is that the Cup Cadet car that I see sideways. Second in the championship. It was going to go one of 2 ways for him, and unfortunately it's gone backwards.
Big shot.
Madison down and out. And missing the boot lead, he'll have to pit, take a fast repair, maybe stay in the lead lap and hope for a safety car is all that he can hope for from here.
Now, I mean, it is a low downforce track, so maybe that will work for him. We'll have to see how this plays out.
He'd be going wicked quick without the rear wing. Now Blackhall back to the lead. Missed what kicked all that off for Madison down in the background, but that is huge championship ramifications.
You really feel like it's a matter of time before you see another accident. When you're looking at 4 wide and people trying to choose their line, it takes one person to attempt a bump draft in the middle of a corner and there's a big crash.
And you know, here's the Lenovo Savage moment of what happened. So you look at this, right? Has to be. Has he been taken out by someone here? He's got to be. You can't lose the car on your own. Yeah.
Andre Heimgartner, mate. He's just moved up into him.
Yeah.
Punted him.
He's going to be hitting him up on Instagram later tonight. Thanks, Andre. If you think I wasn't even involved, it was Ben Smith.
I blame the Kiwis.
I do think that they do an amazing job with these liveries. It is even hard for me sitting here to not forget that these aren't the real drivers in the cars.
That's not Bryce Fullwood and...
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, and Nick Percat fighting for the lead with Chris Pither. Cam Waters just with a bit of a rub on the outside. A lot of people were tipping Anderson and Hampstead to be quick in these races with Blackhall. Now all 3 of them sit inside the top 5.
Madison Downs lost a lap, but watch him claw to the front of the field here. So there he is on the inside. You can see in the Cub Cadet Mowers Commodore, right on the inside of the BP car. About a lap's time, he should appear at the front of this pack. His tyres are that much fresher. But Scott, you talked about the racing here. 3 wide, 4 wide as Caruso's almost turned around by Myers. And what they had here in NASCAR was before the resurfacing in 2012, you were able to run the high line and get away with that as the truck assist cars forced into the wall of Gilliam. But they resurfaced this track and iRacing went and laser scanned it again. And we're using that version. And what they do is actually apply a traction compound at the top of the racetrack, a PJ1 traction compound, which helps run that line later in the race. Don't need that today on the sim because these drivers are making everything work.
You can see how quickly the field can change as well. We've got El Nabi back in 10th now, who's leading only a short while ago. I mean, someone who's done a good job here out of, particularly out of the top 3 is Job. He's back up into 11th now, where we've seen Philsall and Shane both get caught up a little bit. And he's actually jumped Rogers in the last 2 laps as well.
Yeah, Job Stewart flying through this field at the moment, up 10 spots from where he started. He and Richard Hampstead, the biggest movers of the race.
It's hard as a driver when you're running, say, P2. You know, we see Hampstead there choosing to actually run the bump draft rather than passing the other driver. It goes against everything we've ever been taught, but around this place, you almost don't want to be the leader until you cross the finish line in the last lap.
Blackhall and Hampstead make contact. Madison Down desperately trying to get that lap back and hope for a Repco safety car. That's him in the yellow car below the stripe. As Blackhall rubs panels with Dane Warren, and was there a wreck off the back of that?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure Dane Warren got turned around. And again, he's third in the championship.
I was surprised that Warren got turned there, because I really thought that there was going to be Blackhall in trouble there with Warren in the rear quarter.
Yeah, it worked out the exact opposite, didn't it?
Yeah.
As Warren found the fence and drops down the order.
You talked about this last year on the eSeries, how the side draft works. When you're behind someone, as soon as you reach about the B pillar, is that where you want to pull away?
Exactly, yeah. So in real life, it's a huge thing, and people often wonder, I guess, when we say at a place like Darwin, you get the run out of the last corner. As soon as you are if you're the car overtaking, as soon as you reach that rear door, you want to pull away and try and break the side draft. And you'll always see, especially experienced guys. I remember racing Garth. He'd chase you across the field. You know, he'd be the guy that would chase you to the inside and try and pick up the draft again. But for sure, side draft in a supercar is bigger than nose to rear.
We're still in that optional pit window where these drivers might come in. We've seen Jordan Caruso in. There's Dane Warren in the Middies Commodore. Jake Burton in the Dunlop Racing Commodore. Greg Galt for Shannon's Racing 2.
Importantly, Madison Down did get that lap back. There he is at the front of that pack. So the fresh tyres working out for him, but he's going to have a long, long way to go on that set of tyres. Even if he was to get a Repco safety car, to be a long way home off the back of the pack.
And it is tricky when you're starting to run around on old tyres on the oval. You just can't pick your line. If someone pits a little bit later, they're always going to be able to, you know, switch from a high line and cut down on you and get you on exit, things like that. You're at the mercy of the tyre at that point. So we saw that with Shane in the first race. He was able to switch down, get onto the low line and push his teammate across the line.
This is the fight for the lead, because the yellow car is, well, not a lap down anymore, but virtually a lap down, about 1.9 miles off the back of the pack at the moment. Shane Van Gisbergen and Cooper Webster. What a cool moment this will be for Cooper Webster, just doing some laps with the reigning Bathurst champion around an oval.
I did, during my time on iRacing, I do think they race us harder than each other sometimes. So this will be interesting how this plays out.
He's giving him a little bit of a shove right now.
I know if I got to race, say, you know, with Shane there, may well be 0. I know that I'd be giving him a hard time and making sure I got one up on him.
17-year-old Cooper Webster won the pole tonight thanks to Coyne. First different pole sitter since Josh Rogers has been clean sweeping everything, and Shane Van Gisbergen is willing him to try and catch this pack right now.
Yeah, you've really got to work together and try and get in the back of some pack there. There's no point in fighting each other at this point. And I mean, they're out of touch at the moment anyway, but certainly no point in dicing.
Scott needs to come back to the desk each round, because every time he's here, Jared Filsell seems to win. 3 career wins for him.
Well, I don't know about that. I was hoping I'd bring some good luck for Jimmy Golding, but he's doing well. Back up in the 8th, so we'll see how this goes. But I got my fingers and toes crossed for that Sid Crum car.
But James Golding's doing really well for a driver who doesn't do this as full time as the rest of the pack. He's been fairly competitive.
I mean, I was blown away with the amount of time these guys are spending on it. And we're looking at pros. We're looking at some of the best sim racers in the world. So, yeah, I definitely wouldn't like to be in his position, because it's pretty tough competition.
There he is right now. James Golding working away in car 440.
He needs to pit because he's lost the draft. He's got to come in this lap.
I think he was flexing there. Did you guys see? was he flexing?
He's found the tightest shirt he can find tonight, just for you. In comes Ben Smith. Here he is.
There we go. Yeah, I think you're right, though. He really needs to get in the pit there, take some tyres and try and find a tow again. Because on your own, you're wounded. Especially when some have already pitted. You're looking at over a second a lap off the pace anyway, even if you're in the right situation.
More pit stops. Jackson Suzlin Harlow brings the rest of the field in with Jared Filsell, Emily Jones, and now finally James Golding. So everyone has served their BP Ultimate pit stop. And we'll get a good read on what this field is officially like.
You say Jimmy Golding was flexing. That's why he was wearing a single last week. It used to be a long sleeve shirt at the start of the night.
Yeah, the sleeves have been getting shorter throughout the course of the season.
He's a good lad, he is. I mean, we had a great time. Myself, Dean, Frosty, Jimmy, all got on really well at Bathurst. And it's always good when co-drivers and mains can have such good relationships, but certainly someone I think that deserves to be full-time for us. So, I mean, it's cool to see him mixing it up with these guys and having a good time, but for sure, I think he deserves to have a crack again back in the main game. A young guy, good work ethic. I'd like to see him for sure back. He did a really good job, I think, with Frosty. Okay, lead pack once again. And at the moment, there's a two-car breakaway between Jordan Caruso and Jake Blackhall, and then this is now the fight for third. So those front guys have been quick enough through the pit stop window to be able to gain some time. And Job Stewart again driving through the field as part of the Erebus Academy. Good chance to sing their praises. They've got their own eSeries starting this weekend. The Erebus Academy looking for more young drivers, just like Job Stewart. That's how he got involved with the team. Won their Erebus Academy last year. That starts this weekend on Friday with the time trials and then racing on Saturday. So go check that out on the Erebus Motorsport page. You want to have a crack at trying to drive in the Erebus Academy.
So this is how this race is shaping up in the final 7 laps. It looks like it's between Jordan Caruso in the Repco Racing Mustang and Jake Blackhall in the Pure Sims Esports Jeff Gordon car. I stuffed that up. There you go. So those two are at the top 2 positions. Now they've got to work together. They've got a second, just under a second to Brady Myers behind, but at the moment it looks like this pack is catching those two. So the peloton, as you'd say in road cycling, is starting to make its way towards the lead pack.
And the breakaway has been absorbed going up through the Alps. And Blackhall back to the lead, working their way through traffic. That's Josh Muggleton. Muggleton desperately trying to hang on the lead lap, giving Blackhall a bit of a push. So there's the leaders, the bright green wheels a lap down. And I think Muggleton may have just rolled out of that. He has.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to play a part in that. Gave the 24 a push and then rolled out of it. They're two good friends, actually, he and Jake Blackhall. He drove for him in last year's eSeries. Blackhall on the left, Jordan Caruso on the right.
I think he might be sponsored by Repco.
What gives you that idea?
Well, we say he looks like Joey Logano. Perfect racetrack to look like someone.
Absolutely. Joey made his way into the championship for this year.
It is great. It is great to see the brands getting behind this, though. I think that was something Supercars for sure did an amazing job with in a period where there was no real racing, there was nothing really for the fans to enjoy. We were able to switch to this, and it's cool now to see some fans, some partners of our sport really getting behind this and supporting young drivers as well that do this, you know, not professionally, but online professionally. So, yeah, very cool, I think.
Here comes Josh Rogers. Can't keep a good thing down. A few of the drivers told me don't expect too many difference at the front of the field. The good guys will always find their way to the front. And Josh Rogers is doing that right now. Probably the safest place to be as well.
It's a hard part of the race because, I mean, you've got 4 to go. You're really starting to think about your finish, where you want to position the car. And to be fair, you don't want to be much further forward than where he is right now. But you can't really lift because you can get swallowed by the pack, you know, in an instant.
The 2 race winners at Bathurst go side by side into 3. Rogers on the outside for Walkinshaw Andretti United. Trying to do what Michael Andretti did here back in the 80s. A winner at Michigan in IndyCar.
Who's your pick? 4 to go. Come
Hampstead. I've got my money on Hampstead. Hampstead and Blackhall, they're sitting perfectly back in 5th and 4th at the moment.
So anyone in your top 16 is within a chance to win this race. The top 16 separated by just 2 or 3 seconds.
How good is this pack racing now? Rogers can't afford to be too aggressive here. He's going to get a bunch of championship points on Madison Downs, stuck in 19th. Here comes Hampstead with a big shove.
Fulsel's right in this again as well. He's really snuck into the race.
Here he comes now. 4th in line on that top line. And he swings it to the bottom.
And Fulsell again has the freshest rubber in the pack. He's played the strategy to perfection. What did I tell you? You want to save that pit stop as late as you can in this race. And here he is to the inside now, trying to bump draft Jackson Suzlin-Harlow to the lead and trying to help himself chain along and pick up P2 now from Josh Rogers, his championship rival and teammate from last year.
2.5 laps to go. Fulsell on the right. Suzlin-Harlow, your race leader, trying to win 2 from 3. He picked up the reverse grid race at Bathurst. Can he go again tonight at Michigan?
Oh, he's in the wall, I think. He scraped the fence.
Oh, and wreck behind him includes El Nabi. And I think it may have been Ben Smith again, and Blackhall's gone. What a night he is having. Jonathan Simon can barely believe it as Emily Jones picks up our Seiko 5 fastest lap in the draft. 2 to go. Rogers, surely he can't keep the good times going on an oval as well. If he banks 75 points here, he will win this championship. Surely there's no catching him from there.
Oh, he got loose.
I really feel like here, I mean, if Philson can get the right toe, he's going to be able to choose his line. He's on the best tyres there. I think he might actually be on for a good crack at this.
This is a fight between the out-and-out Supercars teams now as we come to the white flag. Red Bull Holden Racing Team to the front against Walkinshaw Andretti United. Tickford in this fight with Richard Hampstead and also Jackson Suzlin Harlow as the Jans team join the fun now with Brady Myers. This is the last lap. Michigan turning it on. Hampstead around the top in the Monster Energy car. And what we've learned from the 2 races so far tonight, it's whoever can swing off turn 4 and get the low line as Hampstead bangs doors with Suzlin Harlow down the back straight. Oh, we've got one gone. That is Suzlin Harlow. Saves it. Great save down the back straight. Last corner. Hampstead pushing and shoving, wants the bottom. Rogers slides up. Can he block and defend from here? Their spotters have really good oval experience. Hampstead down below the line. It's going to be Josh Rogers. Surely Philsell out of the draft, doesn't get it. Walkinshaw Andretti United get the win. And for the first time this series, we see him crack a proper smile. That might be one of the best wins he's had probably in his iRacing career because he's well out of his comfort zone.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, he didn't win that in traditional fashion, so I think, yeah, to see the Walkinshaw car get the W there, that's really well deserved. I think that's why you see the smile. That's not an easy win. That's, yeah, one more lap, it could have been anyone else, and the lap before could have been anyone as well, so it's fair play.
There was the Repco replay as to how the R&J Batteries car ended up down on the apron, fighting with Richard Hampstead. That was Hampstead's chance gone as well. Philsell having a very good night, and he drove from the back of the field to second. That's a great drive.
I really thought Harlow was in a good spot there where I thought that he might have been able to, you know, sit in behind Philsell and then maybe draft him to the line. But, yeah, Josh just too strong.
By 41 thousandths of a second. Not quite as close to the last one, but just as exciting. And Brady Myers picks up his second podium of the year. And, again, Job Stewart fourth. So third and fourth. He drove from the back of the field. Wow. That is a really good effort.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. That's smart there. It's not easy. And we talk about, you know, saying anything can happen here. At the same time, you're still in control of where you put the car. And you know, we saw with Rogers comes out on top. We saw Philsell. Good guys. We know how good they are, and that's why they rise to the top.
All right, let's check out your Repco highlights of what was a really entertaining race 10 of the championship at Michigan International Speedway. So it was a really big lead early on for Harley Haber, and unfortunately didn't last too long. Contact with Brady Myers, slid up the racetrack, and it got worse. Bang! Muggleton and Cooper Webster are into it. And then Shane Van Gisbergen involved, and that was him out of action.
Is Justin Rugia still out driving standards observer? Did he quit after last week?
I think he's crawled into the fetal position after last week. He was definitely under the hammer last week when we were in and out of every single problem that we had, and that was a really championship-defining moment, Jonathan.
It certainly was. That's what we talked about at these ovals. It can really shape up the championship. The understeer you pick up coming out of 2 was always going to result in an accident like that. And here's a lovely scrap we had as Josh Rogers found himself alongside Suzlin Harlow for most of the final laps here. Then it continued. These top 5 here were fighting for vital points. 75 for the winner. And you can see that Jared Philsell at the bottom had the freshest rubber to end this race. Just like the real world, Red Bull HRT seemed to sort out their strategy as best as anyone else. There's the wreck behind. Jake Blackhall involved. I saw a BP car involved too, and a few more. Here's the contact on the final lap. Now, Suzlin Harlow actually still came home in 9th. Look at this. At 200 kilometers an hour, still managed to keep it off the wall. And there's the drag race to the line. 41 thousandths of a second between your top 2.
Nicely done, Josh Rogers. That was exceptionally close, and Walkinshaw Andretti United pick up another race win. Here he is right now, live from Germany. Where does that one rate, Josh? Because that was an incredible drive. Oval's not your normal thing, so how are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling awesome. I mean, I think, to be honest, out of everyone here, I mean, the only person that's good or that excels on the ovals is Blackhall and probably Shane as well. So all of us are a little bit out of our depth here, but no, it was a stressful race. I mean, strategy clearly came into it a little bit. I think we definitely learned after the first race that having the freshest rubber at the end was really, really important. Honestly, probably one of the most important factors. And then also track position as well and a clean car. but yeah, basically after that pit stop, once we kind of found our way towards the front, we just tried to kind of bide our time and wait for that final moment. Draft is just so strong that if you're going too early for positions, you're just going to get passed on the next lap. So yeah, had to be a little bit more patient in that one, and definitely paid off.
All right, well done. Congratulations, Josh. We'll let you focus on Monza. That's coming up next. He did mention Jake Blackhall. We should really check in with Jake right now. Here he is. What a night you've had, Jake. You were denied cruelly the pole position earlier, and then these two races. Talk us through what's happened tonight.
Yeah, so narrowly lost pole position. It was close. I should have actually stayed out in my last lap. I actually rolled out of it because there was too many cars and I didn't feel like I was in the right position. So rolled out of that, then kept going for the sort of see what would happen. I just lost pole. But yeah, both races, really mega car speed. The 24 was on fire tonight. It was really good. But unfortunately, just didn't come away with a win. Two incidents where I think it's a little bit of lack of oval knowledge. I was lifting because there's cars in front. Obviously, we weren't going to go anywhere. And then I got tapped in the rear, so not much I could do about it.
Unlucky, mate. Love the Jeff Gordon car. That made my week. So unlucky, buddy, but we'll see you at Monza.
Thank you, guys.
He spent 2 hours putting that livery together. It looked really cool. Like we mentioned, Monza's coming up next, but I want to tell you about this really cool opportunity and a great way for you to get involved with the eSeries. If you think you've got what it takes to compete against the very best of the eSeries, well, go online right now and check this out, and you could be driving for the BP Ultimate Race to Win competition and their team next year for the entire eSeries. You can also win a $500 gift voucher thanks to BP Ultimate. So go and check that out right now on the Supercars website. And if you can post a quick lap and have a crack at running the entire series next year, you could be driving for the BP Ultimate team around cool tracks like that, Monza. That's where we're going next.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries, proudly brought to you by Coin. Be part of where the world is going.
Hi, Steve's, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts. From the outside, who would know what lies beneath? Unleash it with a machine as savage as you are.
This is how legends are made.
Lenovo Legion. Stylish outside, savage inside.
Hi, Steve's, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries, proudly brought to you by Coin. Be part of where the world is going.
Now for something completely different, we go from Michigan to Monza. and the Temple of Speed is where we are heading next. Really cool to have Scott Pye on the desk with us tonight, and I hope you're enjoying it. He is really cool, Scott Pye. What a cool guy, wherever you're watching. Particularly his Twitch account was great. You can be watching this on Twitch or Fox Sports or KO, wherever you're watching from right now. Let's get into our Repco race facts for Monza. Jonathan, if you please.
Sure will. Race 11 of the championship here from Monza. So it's 150 points for the winner. This is the long one. Or will we see the big one here? We saw some big wrecks at Michigan, but we saw what happened in the All-Stars eSeries for round 1 here. Now, this grid was determined by a second qualifying session that took place earlier this evening. One compulsory pit stop will be required, as we have for each round of our series, or each race, I should say. Now, the pit stops here, it's the first time all season that the fuel will take longer than it does to take 4 tyres. We're expecting about 10 to 12 seconds for that pit time. Drivers start the race with about 65 litres of fuel in the tank. 25.5 is needed through the pit stops. That window is about lap 7 to 14. Now, a driver can't run longer than lap 14 on the fuel, and the critical lap is lap number 1. They can come in the lane on lap 1, fill up to about a full tank if you need it. You don't really need to, and that can set you all the way to the end of this race.
All right, so that's the Repco race facts to worry about when we get into this one at Monza. Who's going to be starting from position number 1? Old coin poll award. Guess who? It's the Appliances Online car once again. And man, he's teaching Chaz Mostert how to wheel this thing this year. He is so quick, Josh Rogers, who's picked up another coin poll award, adds another $500 of virtual currency into the mix as well. And that digital currency counter is going up and up and up. He's won a watch as well, and he's doing a great job so far, and he'll be starting on coin pole position for this one tonight. There he is. Can he extend his championship lead over Madison Down in this one? Let's find out exactly where they all start. On our Seiko 5 starting grid, and it's a familiar looking front row. Dane Warren is back with him, and Scott Pye's got some thoughts about exactly how he wants to see Dane drive in this one. Hopefully some aggression tonight. Jordan Caruso and Josh Anderson will be starting off row number 2. Jared Filsell, what a night he's having, alongside Jake Burton, going for 3 podiums from 3 starts tonight. There's Madison Down, desperately needs some points back, starting alongside Cooper Webster. We'll go back and find Jackson Suzlin Harlow. Good save in that last run. Ethan Griggold goes well in the longer races. Here's Brady Myers going for another podium finish. Andrew Gilliam didn't quite put the truck assist car where he wanted it on this one. Neither did Richard Hampstead, so the 2 Tickford cars mid-pack. There goes Emily Jones. Job Stewart, almost the best on ground so far tonight. He's been exemplary, starting alongside Ben Smith. Harley Haybrad at 17 said this is not one of his best tracks, really struggling down at turn 1 under brakes, alongside Forzen El Nabi, Josh Muggleton. Sam Blacklock's gone under the radar tonight. James Golding, your boy Scott Pye, he's out of 21st in the Sid Chrome car. There's the cool Monza Special DuPont 24, and Shane Van Gisbergen strangely didn't get a lap time in the Monza qualifying session earlier tonight. Not sure if we've ever seen Jeff Gordon race at Monza before. Scott Pye has, so it's cool to have him alongside us. 10 years ago he raced here. Let's go racing once again.
I thought you were going to say I'd seen Jeff Gordon race.
Maybe somewhere. As we go, lights out and away we go at Monza. And it's the 2 Walkinshaw Andretti cars at the track where Michael Andretti picked up his one and only Formula 1 podium back in 1993, leading us down into the first corner. And Josh swings through to take the lead from Dane Warren. Now, are we going to see some aggression from Dane in this race as they sort themselves out in the background? And that was 3 cars into 1. Webster, Greg Gould and Suzlin Harlow in the gravel trap early. And that's going to be a long way home from there.
There's always a bottleneck at turn 2. It's actually tighter than 1, so you can go through 1 fairly quick, but then you've got to check up at 2, and that's why we see, I think, they bottleneck, and then they get into each other.
Well, we made it through turn 3, I'll tell you that much, compared to the All-Stars.
Yes. That was the second race.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say these guys are probably slightly better on the sim than we were.
It's very clean. There's Phil Sell, split between the 2 Brad Jones racing cars. So cool that every single Supercars team is entered in this championship this year. Last year we had only a few of them. Now, the front 2 cars, Josh Rogers and Dane Warren. What has Dane Warren got for his teammate in this one?
And you think about this, Dane Warren actually had a good getaway back to Barcelona, which had a similar long run down to turn 1. Didn't get off the line at all. I'm not sure what the issue was, whether it was with the line locker or something else, but he was swamped by the field. Thankfully, this time around, he's still in contention with his teammate.
The other thing that may happen in this race is you might all of a sudden see a driver pull over and stop on the track, and that is called a slowdown. And there might be some slowdowns in this race with people cutting corners and through the chicanes.
And Warren's just dropped down to 6th position, so has he copped a slowdown penalty, Chad, just as you say that?
It's the worst time of the race to get one as well. I don't know if it's changed, but I remember I got one at Canada on the first flyer, and because I haven't set a lap time, the game doesn't actually have something as a reference. So I was slowing down as much as I possibly could, but I still couldn't give away the advantage I thought I'd gained.
So that was really bad news for the Middies car, and he's dropped multiple spots. And Josh Rogers having a laugh in this championship at the moment. All his competitors tonight are finding dramas. He avoided what could have been a chaotic points gap in race 1 tonight at Michigan, and then he picked up the reverse grid race win, and off he goes.
The good news is that Susan Harlow, Cooper Webster, and Ethan Griggold are all still running, but they haven't made a pit stop, so they understand that this race has a long way to go as Dane Warren now dives up the inside of Jake Burton in the Dunlop Racing Commodore, and I just cursed him. I said he had a good getaway. He cops a slowdown penalty. You can pick him up at the chicane, so he would have had to pick it up through Ascari, and to do that, you'd have to run across the anti-cut strip, so I'm surprised he hasn't really damaged the splitter at the front end of that car.
SVG up 5 spots.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough one for Shane. But on the ovals, I think there's the opportunity with the toe around there. You can get into it, and you can, like he said, he downloaded the track just before the start of qualifying. But around here, it's tough. These guys will have been putting in some serious effort, and I think, yeah, we might see him struggle a bit on this one. And also, like I said earlier, these guys are some of the best sim racers we've got in the world.
The slipstream so important at Monza. It's been a night for the slipstream and the toe effect. It's pretty much just 2 big drag strips, or 3 drag strips this place, with a bunch of corners and chicanes.
It is, and it's cool though. I think that even for Formula 1, we often see some outbraking. I think the DRS here in Formula 1, the drag reduction system they run, it's probably a little bit too effective for a place like this. You almost see them passing back, but what's cool about this place is the braking zones are really long, so it means that there's plenty of opportunity to outbrake someone by that 5 meters and get down the inside and still pull the car up for the corner.
Really pouring the pressure right now on Jordan Caruso, second in the motor race. And Rogers now with a chance to drive away as we look off the back of this pack. Why don't you pick up the remote and crack it up and listen to the sure sounds of the game. Scott, how close to perfect is that sound?
It's actually pretty good. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is when you're actually driving the car, you've got earplugs in which block out 60% of the sound. I mean, I've driven the car around the paddock before without those in, and inside it is a rough sounding thing on idle because there's no soundproofing in these cars. But for sure, I mean, there's not really anything like that. But I mean, my favourite is still when you're on the outside of the chase watching the cars come past almost on the limiter at their peak. That's where they sound their best. But yeah, this is surprisingly, it's really accurate. I think the sound is one thing that's absolutely nailed.
There are so many different tracks that we go to in virtual reality. I guess you could call it an iRacing, as Phil Self thought about a move down at turn 1, down, just covered him off slightly. If we could go to any Grand Prix track on the tour, this would almost be the best for a supercars race. It's exactly what our cars here in Australia like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I said it before, that the overtaking here would be really good. There's plenty of time to build up the courage to outbrake someone and have a big lunge. The tracks that we struggle at are probably some of the most picturesque circuits. They're the ones with the long corners, high-speed corners. They're the corners our cars just don't suit. So we like to stop and go and spend as little amount as possible in the middle of a corner. So the Grand Prix, as much fun as it is, sometimes it can be a bit painful if the car's not in the window, but a place like this would be ideal. These couple of corners coming up, though, would be tricky. They're still long enough that you'd have to be extremely patient in the middle as to when you pick throttle up because we've got a fair bit of power without a lot of grip. So you'll be managing the rear tyre all the way around these two corners because you don't want to use too much because that last corner, Parabolica, is going to be a hard one on the rear left tyre.
Cool to see the two BP Ultimate cars running around together, Forza and El Nabi and Emily Jones. There's a little house just on the right-hand side. How much of Monza did you get to see when you raced there?
That right there, actually, that bridge is the old circuit. So that's the banking you're looking at right behind that sign. And I'll never forget when we do that's our first event was Monza in Formula 3. So we did the pre-season photos on that banking. So they staggered the field sitting up on the hill.
Cool.
And that was definitely a moment where, for me as a young kid from Australia going over there, you kind of pinch yourself. You're sitting on the old Monza circuit, getting a photo for your first season in open wheels.
Which you can drive on the iRacing service, that banked oval. I don't know if you know that. Go and grab yourself a supercar and grab 80 of them, go around the oval full throttle.
It's pretty bumpy, I imagine.
Yep, yes it is.
Hasn't been used in, what, half a century, I think?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about racing there back in the day because I remember trying to climb to the top of that and looking over the edge. And yeah, I think if you made a mistake and take the wheel, you're in a world of hurt going over the edge of those banks.
As they were back then. Oh, it's tight down here at turn 2. Caruso is really starting to bottle this field up, and Anderson just about got him then. And now finally, there's a change or two happening in this pack as Down tries to find his way through.
And tyre deg here is worth about 0.6 of a second on a fresh set of Dunlop rubber. Here's a battle for the podium. So Anderson and Caruso now. Caruso's going to lose a spot. Thankfully, he forms up. But now is where, I said the pit window opens lap 7, but somebody might jump the gun here on lap 5 due to all this traffic. Have a look at this train. We're in Italy, might as well call it the trolley train.
Well, tyre deg is one of those things that you not only lose grip in the middle of the corner, but you actually lose braking performance and straight line accelerating. So when you're going from a low speed so many times around a track like this, because, I mean, effectively, like you said, it's joined by 3 straights. So you are coming from low speed to 100% throttle, and that's going to use the rear tyre up. And then when you go to brake, if the rear tyre is still hot, you've got that instability under brakes, and it means it's easy to be overtaken. But I mean, he's doing a good job here to hold this train off. I think once you're wide, though, you're going to get freight line here, and you'll be losing a lot more than one place.
Anderson and Caruso found each other in just about every race 3 we've had so far this year. Silverstone, they were at it. Barcelona, they were fighting there as well as Madison Down now moves to the inside of Jordan Caruso. Down at the Parabolica, gets it done. Phil Sell tries to go with him.
I think Phil Sell's going to pit.
It's giving Rogers a pretty easy run here.
Are we going to see some strategy play into this one?
Oh, he doesn't. Okay.
No, he goes around one more time, stretching it as long as possible. Rogers has punched his time card and left for the weekend. He's out of there. 5 seconds up the road.
This might be why, because he's got a mammoth run here in the draft as Madison Down, I think unintentionally helps Jared Philsell with a draft there. Got to be careful not to cut the corners here in the chicane.
Oh, in the background there goes Gilliam. And I missed exactly who that was who was involved with that one.
I believe it was Stewart, I think, down inside it too. So I think got in the rear wheel and spun him across the front. The trouble is when you get someone across the nose, there's no way of getting out of it. And at the same time, often you're trying to stop them from spinning because you don't want to get a penalty. So if you were to go right and turn him around, you know you're getting a penalty anyway.
And that's broken this pack up a little bit. So fair gap now between Brady Myers back to Forza and El Nabi.
SVG's out. His cat must have got hungry.
I think he was a mysterious DNF from the Monza race and the All-Stars as well. Something about this track that doesn't work for him.
I think that night he called it a power outage, someone pulled the kettle cord, I think. But I think he was actually, I think it might have been a rage quit. First one of the eSeries, I reckon.
Yeah, it was like 2 seconds after Chris Pither actually went into his side panel. So, yeah, maybe the power went out just at the right time.
I like to believe in coincidences, but maybe not that night.
Yeah. If you no longer rage quit, you no longer iRacer.
Hey, I can't talk. I rage quit a lot. I'm actually even featured on YouTube blowing up on my computer screen. So.
That was at the Montreal start.
It was, yeah. Someone clipped it off my Twitch, and yeah, so there's me getting pretty upset on the webcam.
Get for pointing cameras at yourself. So what happened to Andrew Gilliam down there at the chicane as Dane Warren moves on through? It's our Lenovo Savage moment down here at the chicane. There was a long gap between the truck assist car and then Joe became flying in.
Oh, no, yeah, it's diminishing rewards there. I mean, it was just, gap was closing. It was never going to be open there, and they got linked in. I think the trouble was Job's gone deep around the outside of 1 and then really, probably got a bit ambitious in 2 and should have got out of it, was potentially just still on the nose.
And Haber is first to blink. That's Harley Haber. He's the only driver to make a pit stop, along with Shane Van Gisbergen, who we think has gone to feed the cat. And Harley Haber now with what should be a 12-second pit stop. He's still in the lane. 13.7 seconds is a long stop. So these are going to be long stops coming in. If you're Josh Rogers right now, strategy is open.
Surprised how much curve he's getting away with there. I thought that maybe on the left there might have been a track exceeding track limits, but you can actually, it seems like you can get away with a fair bit there.
If you keep...
This is the spot that always got me.
At Lesmo 1, you've got to keep it within the white lines. Same with Lesmo 2, actually.
On the exit curve, right there.
But these drivers are picking up these incident points now, as you know. Yeah. They're actually cutting the track, but they're allowed 25 of them for this race.
It was qualifying that I found really difficult around this track. It's so easy to get an off track, and that actually eliminates the lap you're on. So when I didn't know that, I did an entire qualifying session and found out at the end that none of the lap times I posted were registered. So I started off the back.
Brilliant.
But didn't that work out for you, I think?
It did,
avoided
because
all the carnage?
I don't know how many cars were in our field, but I think about 80% of them crashed off the line. That was when we were all still working out how to start them. We didn't realise you could just go auto clutch and hold the brake and throttle and go.
They do have a line locker.
That's what it was, sorry. Set the line locker, full throttle, let go of the line locker, and away goes.
There was like a 20-car shunt going through the Curva Grande when we did our stuff. I think it was awesome. Cam Waters, I think he was maybe even the instigator in that one, somehow got away with it.
Some might say it's difficult to find a highlight in what 2020 has been, but I think Neil Crompton at Bathurst on the sim has to be one of the greatest moments of this year. Seeing him blow up was classic. I felt his pain.
Yeah, you've got to have a crack at iRacing, and then you two will feel exactly what it's like. As Bryce Fullwood, a.k.a. Dane Warren, comes in for his compulsory pit stop.
This will be a long BP Ultimate pit stop.
Now remember, fuel did come into the equation during the All-Star race. If that race didn't go time certain, McLaughlin would have run out of fuel on the last lap. So the key here is don't do what Scotty did that day. Make sure you do take on enough fuel in your pit stop.
Richard Hampstead's had a 12.8 second pit stop. I hope that's enough fuel to make it to the end of the race. That's a quick time. Unless he's undid the washer, that's limited his fuel fill rate.
Well, that could be one to watch out for then, because, yeah, he's taken 0.7 of a second less fuel. He's going to be kicking the clutch and rolling that thing into every corner to try and get it home if he has short-fueled it. That was the lead for Rogers. He's through Ascari, and the rest of them are still working their way down underneath the old bridge. Well, you've had a crack on iRacing. You've done it for real, Scott. Let's have a look over the shoulder of this guy from Germany now and see if you can pick up exactly what he's doing that's so good.
Well, probably most things on here that there's probably a lot that I could do better on here if I was to watch Josh go around. But you can see there he keeps it tight for quite a long time as well. And that just opens up his exit. I think there's always the tendency there, especially for me in this thing. You want to get on the throttle as early as possible. But it's important to keep it tighter and then be more positive on throttle. So you don't want to... Effectively, we like to think that we're going to get to full throttle in a shorter period of time. You might have to wait for a little bit longer in the middle of the corner. Big braking zone, easy. I struggled here locking rear tyres.
Oh,
just a little bit wide there, and you can see how that left-hander tightens up though. That's what I was saying before. You can almost roll through turn one, and I think that's where we saw Job Stewart run into trouble as well. He probably didn't expect him to check up as much as he did, but two really does tighten, and then you got a real long straight out of here and another good overtaking spot down the road.
Jordan Caruso, Josh Anderson, Jared Filsell, Emily Jones. About 10 or 11 cars taking their compulsory stop. Anderson first away from that pack ahead of Filsell. We'll check out some pit stop times. A lot of short times in here as well.
Josh Anderson.
Really short time for Emily Jones. 12 seconds on the button.
10.7
10.7, Josh Anderson. Surely that's not taking fuel.
The minimum is 10.7 to make it home.
Mate, maybe they've paid the guy who sets the fuel flow rate or something, but we'll see if they make it.
Josh Anderson has taken 2 seconds less fuel than everybody else. Can he get home from there?
Might be a wink up Mostert Bathurst moment again here. Josh Anderson's able to pick up Rogers.
Well, it's given him 2 seconds on track. Let's see if he can convert it though. Will he have to save some fuel later on? We're still watching this beautiful drive through Ascari for Josh Rogers.
He's definitely on it, isn't he? I mean, and when you come to the circuits like these, you can really see just how good he is. And it doesn't matter what he's in either. He's racing loads of different categories online. He's just cream of the crop at the moment. You can see there that patience, just hugging the nose in and making sure that when he does go for the throttle, it's one smooth application. You never want to be lifting out of it. That's where you lose the straight line. He's in the lane now.
Needs to nail the pit entry as well. Pit speed here, 64 kilometres per hour, changes track to track.
I passed someone on pit entry here at Monza once, and I enjoyed it more because they were a bit of a moron. But
I think Seb Vettel did that once. Didn't he come in pit lane? He passed someone.
Yep. We had it at the bend this year. Someone getting past, exiting the bend. I think it was Fabian Coulthard going around one of the Tickford cars, maybe.
Even for us in real life, it's something that, you know, some drivers underestimate how much time can be made on the way. And I don't know if they underestimate, but maybe they don't put the effort in during practice and always practicing your entries. We saw, I mean, Shane Van Gisbergen at Bathurst, if he didn't nail that pit stop, Cam had really closed the gap up on pit entry. So you can see it could change the outcome of the race, just the entry.
Here goes the rejoin. And for Josh Rogers, just how much has he lost to Josh Anderson in that short pit stop? Anderson going with a very aggressive strategy, taking on less fuel, and it might just pay off as he gets the undercut. But the question will be surely fuel.
Rogers had the slowest pit stop in the field, 14.8 seconds. So is that because he hasn't saved fuel running out on his own that he's had to take more?
Can you save that much though? I mean, for us, obviously, in real racing, I mean, you can save, but that's quite a lot of time to get back into pit lane.
Valentino Rossi style, he's just going to get that lead straight back off him. So Anderson played the fuel game. But you know what? The best strategy always is pace, and Josh Rogers wins out there.
Normally you save fuel right on low revs and short shifting and some other factors.
Yeah, lifting and coasting before the brake marker is the biggest one. And actually, you know, short shifting for us doesn't really do very much. You know, you're always shifting on the limit. It helps with shift cut. But a big one is actually minimising your blip. So that when we change down, you know, you always match your throttle with the RPM the gear's going into. So actually having a little bit less throttle on the downshifts makes a big difference, as well as the lifting and coasting before you brake.
And on iRacing, it's, I think, very dependent, a lot of the drivers say, on actually throttle position. So the longer you're on 100% or full throttle, and the longer you're using the throttle, the more fuel you save. So it's simulated a little differently as Rogers tries to break the toe. He knows Anderson's got a lighter car compared to him.
Well, Anderson will be using that toe as well to try and lift off the throttle maybe a little bit as well. When you are in the draft, I know at Bathurst, it's a place where overtaking is pretty difficult, so you'll often get close to the entry of the chase, and that's where you'll lift. You'll use the slipstream to gain the advantage and then give it away before you brake.
Quickest on pit lane was Forzan El Nabi, 9.9 seconds. So another driver who's gone extremely low on fuel. And he's in the background fighting with Brady Myers, who has a look to his inside as we watch Jared Filsell and Dane Warren fighting down this historic front straight. Just about every scrap of Monza is extremely historic.
It is, isn't it? Every time we talk about it, there's a place on that track. I mean, like I said, when I went around there, it was like Spa. I was pinching myself the whole time. Just so many cool things you see around there, and then everywhere you race to that track is pretty special.
Change for position there as Myers and Burton go through on El Nabi. Another little chapter in the history book for Monza this year. Back in 1950, it hosted the last round of the Formula One World Championship. 70 years later, it's going to host the last round of the World Rally Championship. So the last round of WRC in December at Monza.
Really?
Yeah, how strange is that? Parts of it is going to be on the banking.
Rally is definitely something I would love to have a go at. I mean, Shane was sending me his videos last couple of days from the weekend. It just looks so epic. But I dipped my toes in it a little bit with the World Rally Cross. That was good fun.
Yep.
But yeah, certainly for the short term anyway, I think I'll be sticking to the circuit racing. But certainly something I'd love to have a go at in the future.
We mentioned Valentino Rossi. He has had a crack at some of the different rally events that have happened here as we check out Madison down. So Madison tried to get clever. And
you can really see the concentration on his chin. I mean, he is very focused.
Very forward. Whoa! Have a look at the run that he's got on both Warren and Filsell, who are both wide. Now, can he capitalise on this?
The VR is something I've tried once, but I think it's a real preference. I liked it visually, but I struggled with you know, being someone. Well, I use more than I realise. I mean, my hands and things like that. You know, it gives you a little bit of feeling. So I guess it's a real preference thing, and it also made me actually feel a little bit sick, which I don't normally get on the sim. So yeah, VR is something that it's a taste. It's definitely a preference.
Second and third in the championship, squabbling down the front straight. Dane and down, trying to figure this one out down at turn one. The Cup Cadet car is on the outside to give each other some room. And wow, done. Nicely done.
That was deja vu on last year in the eSeries. They did exactly the same thing, except they had Brenton Hobson on the inside.
Three wide.
They went 3 wide down into the first chicane.
Hobson would have loved tonight because he does quite a bit of speedway. He would have been very quick.
It's good to see Anderson. He's hanging in there. Really is. I think that I was surprised early. I think maybe Dane getting that penalty in the early part of the race gave Josh that gap, and he was able to break the toe. But Anderson is, somewhat hanging in there. He's just lost he's just over a second out of there. But I'm surprised actually, because he pitted a little bit earlier as well. So I thought Rogers might have just trucked away a bit quicker than he has.
Both Rogers and Anderson set their fastest laps on that last lap. And for Rogers, he's about half a second quicker. There it is, Seiko 5, fastest lap of the race. That gap, 1.2 seconds. Rogers with the speed when he needs it.
Philsall will be pushing here, but he's really sort of found himself in no man's land a little bit, because he's just outside, well, he's well outside that toe. So I'll be hoping for a mistake from Anderson, I think.
Job Stewart and Harley Haber. Erebus versus Matt Stone Racing down at Ascari. Haber very aggressive, and he hangs on to this one. Good racing.
Surprised they didn't destroy the splitter over that anti-cut strip.
Hard spot to overtake that one. It's a big stop, but it's quite a quick corner still into a fast right. So if you can just hang the overlap on the outside, quick on the inside, for a corner which is quite long, so one that's really hard to hang on the outside there where Joe was.
Just flicked us on tonight. That's the voice of Scott Pye. Cool to have Scott from Team 18 and DeWalt Racing joining us tonight. Top 10 in the Supercars Championship as Harley Haber dives into the pits.
How old's Harley? I feel very old sitting here watching these two.
And we are now hearing that Harley Haber has a drive-through penalty, which would explain why he's in. He is 21 years of age, lives in Oran Park. Picked up a win in the All-Stars, won the last race of the All-Stars.
He did, at Bathurst, I believe, yeah.
And raced at the Oran Park round, his home track, I guess.
I recognise that hair. I don't know if he's going for Luffy or Chaz.
It's a bit of a mix, I think.
Yeah.
It's an aggressive dude. And that's the first drive-through penalty I can remember all season so far.
Yeah, during a race.
Do we know what for yet? Did I miss that?
Yeah, I missed it too. We'll find out.
Just a Rougier on the job as our DSO. And there has been some pressure on Justin's shoulder to make the calls mid-race, and he's done it.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, the DSO is the job that I'd never want to have, because usually you're upsetting someone. Yep. Like being a politician, you're on one side or the other, and I think that I've been on the receiving end plenty of times, but I've never felt like it was my fault. I can tell you that for
definitely
sure.
not. Here's Muggleton swinging through on Hampstead, and Hampstead losing 2 spots there.
So it's about 24.3 seconds to drive through the lane. That's the transit time. So that's the penalty that Haber's copped as they all run wide through Ascari. You're allowed to do that, just as you normally see out in the motorsport world. So with a few laps remaining now, it looks like this race has started to take place, at least in the top 2 positions. Jared Philsell still has his work cut out for him to hold off Madison Down and Dane Warren. And how about this? So here's the train, but I said last week, Chad, that Philsell needed a good result to help him in his championship chances, and what a delight that he's got that here today. Here's Burton diving to the inside of Dane Warren.
Yeah, best we've seen of Jake Burton so far tonight. He can get onto the back of his teammate now, and also puts a car between himself and Madison Down. They are the 2 fighting for 2nd and 3rd in the championship. And that's worth some money, $10,000 to win.
I think someone's talking to him. Either that or he's checking to make sure his sign does say BJR.
That's awesome.
We can confirm it does.
Jake, what do you want for dinner? Not now.
Mum, the meatloaf.
He did move out of home and made the move over from Perth to Melbourne.
This is cool. I think this is. Honestly, I thought Philsall was going to press on a bit here. I think Anderson's doing a really good job at the back end of this race, but yeah, I thought Philsall might have held that gap. But I think what we're seeing here is the effect of the toe as well. It is difficult to be that lead car on a freight train and pull away.
Philsell's going to play himself back in a championship contention here tonight, off the back of 3 big podiums. But it wasn't working out in the opening round. Now
he's found his form tonight.
Absolutely back in with it.
It's a very big fuel burn here per lap, about 4.7 litres per lap. So for those who have taken less fuel, they will be a couple tenths faster a lap, I reckon.
Does that then allow you as well to save more fuel, because you've got, you got a little bit more car speed, that lift and coast becomes a bit more of an option?
You say lift and coast, and when we rode on board with Jake Burton at the 2nd chicane at the Della Roggia, he seemed to lift and coast in the braking zone. And I look at his pit stop time, and he's one of the 5 drivers I've highlighted as to whether or not he'll make the end of this race. Only a 12.3 second stop. He's probably taken a few less kilos of fuel, got track position, and then decided to save it. This is a battle for 3rd now, and your podium position, Madison Down to the outside.
even Phil Sell there, I mean, defended early, could potentially be lifting as well. You know, if he's gone short on fuel as well, looked like maybe he was giving up a little bit there. Definitely looked like the slipstream had a bigger effect than I would have thought.
He's in the wrong spot to be saving fuel right now. Let's ride on board with Josh Anderson. Let's have a listen.
No lift and coast there.
We can check his dash too. His dash will tell us how much fuel he's saving. Starts with a 0 there, so I'm afraid maybe that doesn't tell us. Hard to see.
Oh no, Madison down off the road again. And the championship is slipping out of his fingers tonight. And let's check it out on the Repco race replay. Oh, Phil Sell with a slide. They're all into each other down at the chicane, and it's actually off the bumper of his teammate, but that probably doesn't tell the whole story because there was 3 or 4 drivers all fighting over that one.
That's very smart by Jared Phil Sell. Don't worry about everybody else behind. Just don't cop a slowdown penalty, and he's gotten away with it.
Yeah, had he run over the chicane, he would have been slapped with about 3 seconds.
Yeah, so he's just saved that. About 2.5 to 3 seconds, Chad, at the second chicane. It's worse than the first part of the chicane because the exit's where you gain the most time, so they're going to penalise you more there if you gain an advantage.
Phil Sell trying desperately to hang on to that spot. So is Forza El Nabi now. And Emily Jones in this fight. Here's Jones with Muggleton and Madison down, trying to get some points back.
I feel like it's getting to that point in the race now where everyone's really starting to get antsy. They're not so patient anymore. And if some are starting to do that lift and coasting, I think under brakes there's going to be some big dive bombs hopefully we'll see in the back end.
That's where you could be vulnerable. El Nabi has a look. Madison down in the background having a crack as he tries to pick up some spots later on.
Phil's was really backing them up here. I think that this has worked for Anderson. We question whether or not he's going to but he's got a big gap here to save some if he has to.
I think Madison down just got 2 spots in the one corner if he can get away without a slowdown. That was a great move. Had a massive run down the front straight. Went to Dan Ricciardo full send down there at turn 1 and got away with it.
This is where Ricciardo did another send on Sebastian Vettel. Yeah, bit of a switchback here in 2014. He's had some good moves here as Dan Ricciardo.
It's a track that suits someone who's supreme on the brakes, which Ricciardo certainly is. Go back on board.
Looking. See the oversteer there. That rear left tyre is starting to bleed.
It's Dane Warren.
It again here.
There it is.
They're definitely getting hot. They're definitely dealing here with some big degradation.
Track temp is 45 degrees Celsius too. That's the hottest we've had all season. It's going to be so slippery. It's probably going to feel like it's driving on a damp track. At least that's what it feels like on iRacing.
It's surprising. I mean, I remember when, in real life, it makes a huge difference for us as well. But I remember when one of the races were hosted for us to do early in the eSeries, the temperature, we got it wrong. Well, I didn't. That Prendergast did. Not name. I mean, it wasn't.
Not naming names.
Yeah. Nate, come on. Got the temperature. It was so hot, and the effect that it had. It was. I mean, we're not good enough on the sim to be driving on the temps. It was that difficult to drive. So, it's. I think it makes a bigger impact on here than it does in real life.
Dane Warren gets the move made, but racecraft-wise, it might not have been the best spot to do it because Brady Myers goes straight back into the slipstream and will have the run down the front straight and might just get him down at turn 1. It's like making the move before a DRS zone. Myers pulls out of that one.
And if Rogers wins this race, it'll be 15 eSeries wins in 27 starts. That's Scott McLaughlin numbers right there.
He is dominant.
In the Penske days, that is.
Yes.
And really faultless as well. I mean, obviously had the one hiccup in the first race at Michigan tonight. But other than that, I mean, he has been really solid, hasn't he? I think that's the tricky thing in the championship when you're going for it. You can't, at the moment, they're not quite close enough to push him into an unforced error. So this is what we're seeing. He was just dominance.
Racing there virtually tonight, but this is so far out of the tracks we've raced at. Geographically the closest to where he is based now in Gronau, Germany.
Yeah. That's a good point. I've heard Hockenheim's coming to iRacing soon.
That's pretty cool. The old circuit, that'd be even better.
If it exists.
Yeah.
Maybe we can take the rally car around the old circuit. It's probably not even tarmac over there.
Here he is. It's been a lonely old race for Josh Rogers. Had that one little moment where he had to just make up for Josh Anderson's slow pit stop. And with 2 to go this time by, we're about to find out if anyone is going to feel the effect of their short fill. I wouldn't be surprised if we see someone run out of juice on the last lap.
Forza Alnabi, who had the shortest pit stop. He was in double digits, 9.9. Everybody else was in triple digits. Well, actually, no, that's single digits, I should say. Whoops. But anyway, nailed it. He's gained 11 positions. Don't mention that again, please. Yep. And he's up in a 7, so hopefully he saved enough fuel. You'll see him at the back of this train. There he is, right ahead of Jordan Caruso. Josh Anderson's in the lane. No. I don't think he's got enough fuel to the end.
There we go.
Will we see Alnabi come in as well?
Oh, he's only got one more lap to pit on. As the fight continues, not only do you have to save fuel, you've got to make some spots up as well.
I actually really think it's been great tonight to see the track temp so high, because you can see when we go on board, you can see how much the car's moving around. I think that's what's keeping the racing so tight as well. Yep. Tyre management, fuel management. I joked earlier about it with Nate, but honestly, I think it's a good move tonight having this, because these guys are obviously pros at this. They are so good. We struggled because we battled on a good day driving these things, but I think that what we're seeing tonight is some really cool racing, and the track temp, seeing this is, I think the tyre decks played a big part in this. I mean, you can see how much they're having to tiptoe through the chicanes, climb the curbs, manage the wheel spin. Each driver there, all the cars out sideways. I think it's really cool to see. And now we've got, obviously, fuel as well. So if you get tagged, this is something as well. You get touched and you're off the track because you haven't got enough grip to keep it on the road.
It's been cool having the fuel element come into it tonight for the first time all season, because this is such a flat-out circuit. Josh Rogers, again, 147.7, quickest lap of the race so far. He's backed off into the 49s now, so that's how much the tyre deck is kicking in. It'll be one to go next time by.
I don't think Alnabi's going to make it. He was about 2 seconds.
He has to pit this lap, surely.
He's got to. He was 2 seconds shorter than Anderson on the fuel fill. And as you said, Scott, like, to save fuel in these cars is not as easy as you can make it out to be.
If it coughs, how far can you make it? I mean, we talk about, we know we have critical points on a lap, that if you get a cough at that point, you can still make it to the flag. We saw a wink up, half a lap at Bathurst. How far can these guys make it if it does? I mean, it's the approach of the last lap now.
He's dropped to the back of the pack. He gives Jordan Caruso a shot mid-corner. All eyes on the BP Ultimate car. Will he pit?
He may need to make the call now. Will he come in?
Yeah. He was never going to make it home on 9.9 seconds. And he locks them all up as well. Don't get a drive-through on top of all of that.
That's how I passed someone at Monza once in the pit entry, as I said.
So Rogers.
That's the second time you mentioned that. We get it, mate. All right, you're really good at pit entry.
If we see any more pit stops, you can bring it up once more. 5 now, nearly 8-10 seconds. This gap just keeps growing at the front of the field for Josh Rogers. Then it's back to Phil Sell, who's going to get 3 podiums tonight.
Dane, really good night for him. Dane as well has done a mega job here to recover in that car. I think that, he got that slowdown early, if that's what it was, and it put him out of position, really, but he's shown that he's got good speed. He's climbed his way back through.
Good point. Half a lap left for Rogers, going through Lesmo.
Am I not allowed to come back at Scott after that?
What's that? Well, not now, mate. It was 10 minutes ago.
It's the final lap.
You got to be quick. You got to be quicker than that, mate.
Maybe tweet it to him once we're off air.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of myself, I'll say that much.
It's good to see some drivers take a risk on fuel, but they got bitten by it tonight. Had they got a safety car, it would have really paid off for them. But trying some different strategies, trying to think their way to the front.
Worth it, mate. I mean, we saw a change for lead with it, and for Anderson, it would have given him P2 if there was a safety car. So I think it's definitely worth the risk. I was interested to see how far they could make it if it did cough. If you get half a lap out of it around here, I would have just ran it out of fuel. I mean, you pit, you're out of contention anyway.
True.
See how far you can make it. But maybe he was already at that point, so I don't know.
He was in the pot, the virtual pot. Last time through Parabolica. Josh Rogers.
Big slide.
Letting it all hang out. Drifting his way to a win in Monza. Walkinshaw Andretti United, 2 out of 3 tonight. Josh Rogers wins in Italy and extends his championship lead. Fight for second or go all the way to the line. Phil Sell with 3 podiums has to fight and scrap the whole way through. Dane Warren third, great recovery drive. Jake Burton gets his best result of the night. Brady Myers is getting quicker and quicker. He finishes inside the top 5. Jordan Caruso, he was second at one point, fell back through the pack to 6th. Madison Down's going to lose some points tonight. Didn't work out the way that he would have wanted, but that was pretty cool, and a good battle between Rogers, Phil Sell and Warren. A chance to celebrate and light him up. What can't this guy do? Drift. That's the answer. He's going to spin it around down at the chicane, and here is confirmation, and that is an absolute shellacking. Biggest race margin of the year, 8.7 seconds. Game, set, and match. Josh Rogers, well done. Jared Phil Sell, 3 podiums tonight. Dane Warren, probably now second in the championship. Wait for some confirmation on that one. You'll be able to check that out throughout the course of the week on supercars.com. Jackson Suzlin Harlow Wow, great recovery. He was backwards and in the gravel on lap 1, and he got back to 12th. That's a huge drive from Jackson. That's a great recovery indeed. And unfortunately, SVG, a mystery DNF for him in that one, we'll call it.
That's not leaders, that one. That's laps.
Yeah.
Okay? 16. So,
16.
Yeah, I think he might be asleep right now.
Yeah, it's pretty late over there in NZ. Here are your Repco race highlights of the final race of the night. Race 11, we're off to Monza, and this was big. Ethan Griggoult, Cooper Webster, and then also, unfortunately, Jackson Suzlin-Harlow. Great recovery to get himself back up just outside the top 10. It's been a great night for Job Stewart. That wasn't one of his best moments. Looking forward to seeing if we're going to get another Erebus Academy Junior coming through when they go racing this weekend.
And fuel was a big part of this race. Josh Anderson managed to sneak the undercut here on Josh Rogers, but this was down to fuel strategy. Didn't take enough fuel. Didn't matter anyway because Josh Rogers had all the speed and screamed back up past the inside into the second chicane. That was it for Rogers. He ended up winning this race at the end of the day. Here's some contact as Madison Down was turned around by his teammate Jake Burton unintentionally. We saw Mark Webber do that one year in Formula One, ended up in the gravel.
Everyone was into each other down at the chicane, so hard to really pin that on any one driver. And at the front of the field, cruising to victory, 8.9 seconds, which is an absolute monster win. Congratulations to the crew at Walkinshaw Andretti United. Well done to Josh Rogers. Too strong in this championship, extending his Repco points lead. There's the Repco highlights. Now, remember, you can go online tomorrow. Go to Facebook. We want to hear from you. Your chance to have your say on who is the Lenovo top performer of the night. We've picked 3 drivers that you can go and vote for. Yes, as you can probably imagine, Josh Rogers is on that list right now. We're going to put Jared Filsell in there. 3 podiums for him tonight. And how about a tick towards young Job Stewart from the Erebus Academy? He drove really well, particularly in the ovals.
Yeah, very smart. Really impressed tonight. I think that, I know the effort he's putting in, so really good. I'm happy to see him get a result. He deserved that.
Jonathan, thanks for your input tonight. Great to see the strategies play. Wicked to have Scott Pye on the desk. Hope you can join us again next week when we go racing once again for the Repco Supercars Pro eSeries. Who's going to be the wild card next week? You'll have to stick around and find out. Thanks for watching. Josh Rogers, surely Filsell out of the draft, doesn't get it. As we go, lights out and away we go at Monza. As they sort themselves out in the background, and that was 3 cars in a 1. Cup Cadet car is on the outside to give each other some room. Wow, done. Nicely done. The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Pagnian, official reseller of Next Level Racing and Thrustmaster products.